AM 950, The Fan, Rochester, an Odyssey sports station.
It's time to start the show and talk about the sports we saw. Inside jokes and takes from Danger and Battaglia. Bills and the Sabres and the Ambers. Who gave a microphone to these jerks? Gene's a big timer, a social misfit. Clueless to the title of the biggest buskeg hits. Chuck Muncie's goons have the last say. So thanks for your time, Mr. Mayo. Danger likes his cold ones and he likes his bears. But this is Rochester, cute Francesa.
Oh, who cares?
He's critical of Sean, he's critical of Alan. Of course he married Sandy, cause she's Italian. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. With Danger and Battaglia.
I promise we're going to talk plenty of sports this afternoon in the sports bar as we welcome you on in, Danger and Battaglia. My first question, Gino, is have you seen any good memes in the last 24 hours? Just in general.
Oh.
How? Here's what I want to know. How? How do people, it doesn't matter what your political leanings are, how does everybody mobilize and shoot out the memes as quickly as they do? It blows me away.
No, I turned my phone off last night.
Oh, I did as well.
Listen, I manage my feed very well, Danger.
Okay.
The mute button should be your friend.
This is my problem then. Maybe I just am not disciplined enough to, hide the items in my feed that I don't want to see, but can't help it. We go through the process of prepping for our show every afternoon, and I'm scrolling through my feed, or I'm reading text messages from friends, and I'm in all these different. I'm getting this meme here, this meme there, this meme there. There's Taylor Swift. There's Trump. There's Harris. I'm like, does anybody work? It's beautiful outside. Go outside. Take a walk.
It is beautiful. I'm wondering, why are you wearing a hoodie today? This is summer, September. This is elite.
This is elite season, and
Yeah.
I think elite. Jeremy White, our buddy at GR, is always called fall elite season.
But this isn't really fall. This is like the last taste of summer.
I've got my shorts on, and it's not really a thick hoodie. It's more like a thin kind of hoodie, so it doesn't really feel like a thick, cozy hoodie. And I love that we've got a great day, and I booked a tee time for Saturday. I'm excited for that, to get out on the course with my daughter and do some golfing. We're going to soak up as much of this as we can while we have it.
I'm excited to do yard work Saturday.
Ooh.
I have Saturday off because Fisher actually has a week 2 bye here. So.
Talk to me about yard work, Gino. What do you got? What do you got planned? You got some weed and feed? I
already did that, but just weeding in general. And right now I'm looking at my yard and I'm like, no, this does not compare. This is not up to standard.
Okay. Yeah.
I was a little embarrassed actually because you came over. I'm like, Danger, let's carpool. All right. So Danger, as you may know, lives in North Grilton, as we'll call it.
We'll call it East Hilton.
I live still on the west side, but a little closer to
you're
the
in the
main
you're
artery.
in the Pittsford of the west side, Spencerport.
Spencerport,
yes.
Yeah. So, I'm like, hey, just leave your car. I'll kind of go out. But I'm thinking, oh my gosh, he's gonna leave his car. He's gonna look at these weeds. He's gonna
Didn't even notice.
Didn't even notice. Like I'm thinking you're gonna be like my father-in-law coming over, like, yeah, you gotta take care of that. I'm thinking,
No, I don't really do that. And honestly, I think it speaks to, I do what I have to do to my lawn because my neighbors are very meticulous with their yard, and I don't want to be that house. I don't want to be the house that everyone points at and is like, what's wrong with them? And I don't think your house is that at all. But if I wasn't in that kind of, I wouldn't be judgmental of a person who has a stray weed or two or a dead patch here or a dead patch there. Hey, it happens, and we all lead busy lives. I mean, really, the status of our lawn is the thing that's going to keep us up at night, not me, pal. But I do get excited about doing some of that yard work. And I'm behind. I got to get the spray out. I got crabgrass all over the place in the backyard. It's unacceptable.
Yeah, so your tea time, my yard work, college football Saturday.
Oh, it's going to be great.
Yeah.
It's going to be great. We got a lot to get to here this afternoon in the sports bar as it's Wednesday, but it's weird. It's Wednesday when the Bills play on a Thursday. It doesn't feel like tomorrow. It feels like a Friday.
So tomorrow is abbreviated because the Bills radio network, which we're proud to be part of the network, that starts at 4 o'clock tomorrow. So a 4-hour, 15-minute pregame tomorrow, which means Danger and I are only on 3 to 4 tomorrow. So you want to talk Bills with us? You want to call your shot? Today's your best bet, 866-4FAN, 866-4326.
Joining us on the show this afternoon, super agent and Rochesterian, tongue-in-cheek, Lee Steinberg stops by again at 425.
He once dated a girl from Rochester. I think maybe it was his first girlfriend.
Yeah. He's one of us.
Yeah, so, yeah.
If he can roll with the punches, I'm going to keep rolling with it, Gino. He's a Rochesterian. Lee Steinberg, super agent.
Topic for Lee Steinberg, player safety, which is not going to go away. I'm just curious to get his thoughts here because, hey, if you weren't familiar with this, and I think there was one player that did this, like how many actually wore the Guardian caps this week?
I think there's a player, I want to say he's like the backup tight end in Indianapolis. And I only know this because I saw him post a video about it on his feed. And he said, yeah, why wouldn't I? I mean, this is available to me. My future is more important to me than looking cool. I'm going to wear the Guardian cap, and I have zero issue with it. I want to say that was at least one player.
Jabril Peppers wore it, but it actually had the Patriot logo on the side.
Yeah, it's almost like they put a shower cap on top of the Guardian cap, and the shower cap has a logo on it.
Yeah, that's it. And it was in the team color, and you can recognize this right away.
Who was the Bill that had the
you were just going to bring that up. Mark Kelso.
The Kelso, right.
But Kelso, he looked like the Great Gazoo.
Yeah, from Flintstones. Yeah, I remember that.
Yes, Marv, I'll play free safety for you.
And Kelso's skills were declining at that point. It made for a bad combo.
I remember that. So we're going to talk to Steinberg about player safety in the NFL. That's like a great punchline, man. Player safety in the NFL. Do they really care about player? What was the one that I saw? Oh, it was Van Noy in Kansas City who was complaining about the treatment that he got from the Kansas City medical staff after injuring himself on Thursday night. That was the one that crossed my feed today. I was like, okay, player safety. Yep.
Total of 4. Steelers offensive lineman James Daniel, Colts tight end Kylan Granson, and Titans tight end Josh Wiley. That's it.
Those are the players that
was guarding.
Those are the players, yeah. Those are the players who have wives at home saying, you better wear that. What's wrong with you? Or overbearing parents.
Well, why isn't this at every level? Like, is that where we're going to go? Like, hey, it's one thing for machismo NFL players. They're getting paid. They're adults. This is their decision. Why can't we do this at the high school level? Or better yet, Pop Warner?
If it's that important,
yeah,
we should be talking about it for the youth before we talk about it for the billionaires and the millionaires in the NFL. So we'll get into that with Lee Steinberg. He's stopping by the Sports Bar at 425. Love that we have him on with us today. And we'll also be joined, as always, every Wednesday. We'll get some winners for college football, week 2 of the NFL. The great PJ Glasser, host of Send It In on the BetQL Network and Odyssey Sports Betting Insider, stops by later this hour, like right around 3:25.
So he will be picking Bills and Dolphins. At last check, the Dolphins are 2.5-point favorites. So this is, the Bills as an underdog here. But we'll touch on the college football schedule, including Alabama, Wisconsin coming up Saturday. Yeah, again, it's a weird week where we're so focused on Thursday night, but then you've got a great weekend of football right after that. PJ Glasser from the BetQL Network joining us here in a little bit.
Insider Calls presented by BetMGM. Go check out all the latest lines today on the BetMGM app. We appreciate you stopping by the Sports Bar. Thanks for listening at 95.7 FM, AM 950. You can watch the Sports Bar, your video stream at our YouTube channel, The Fan Rochester, also on Twitch at The Fan Rochester as well. And, of course, we sound our best in the free-to-download Odyssey app. That's AUDACY. I got my buddy Steve, who sent me a text on the secret text also and said, hey, just wanted to tell you I've been listening to you guys whenever I drive now instead of music. Thoroughly enjoying it. Thanks for what you do, my friend.
Hey.
High praise. We appreciate that. He said he almost called when we were talking about McDermott's conservative play calling, not only the field goal to go up 6, wasn't kicking the field goal and only going up 6 to Steve. It was the conservative play call on 3rd down before they decided to kick that field goal. Plenty to dissect, and we can second guess all day on the Bills. They get the win week 1. It was a little bit hairy there at the end. I don't think anybody was really ever comfortable. Like, I don't know if any Bills fan felt comfortable, especially with our friend DJ Dallas making history, but we'll continue to look forward to tomorrow night.
Yeah, the last word on this, they named Rousseau the AFC Defensive Player of the Week.
Yeah.
Hey, if you get 3 sacks and a forced fumble, yeah, you're going to win that award more often than not. But this isn't your typical Wednesday danger. This is, hey, the team had just a little mini walkthrough. They got on a plane today, and absolutely no surprises when the injury report came out today. Taron Johnson not available for this game, and just everything else. Just other questionable, actually doubtful, Javon Solomon, he won't be there. Dwayne Smoot is out, too, with the toe.
And for the Dolphins, no Raheem Mostert, for what that's worth.
Well, what's that war? But they do have Devon Achane. And Achane, although he's limited today, they didn't have a full practice. And the portion that the media was allowed in, they filmed him. He's doing the drills. I mean, if he's doing the drills on, the day before a game, I'm thinking that Achane goes tomorrow night.
Yeah, unless he has some sort of setback from the work he did today. But that'll be a game-time decision. So the Dolphins will be completely shorthanded. And I guess I'm a little bit more concerned about the shorthanded nature of the Bills' defense and how they look against, I think, a more formidable opponent offensively in the Miami Dolphins and what they faced in Week 1.
Well, do we go back to – people will credit Allen, as they should. Josh Allen, his stats against the Dolphins are amazing. He really owns this team.
He's daddy.
But on the other side of the ball, we got to give McDermott some credit. McDermott seems to know what to do against this Dolphin team. And to me, it seems like, all right, you want to try for the big play, so be it. But if you can somehow disrupt that timing, and the way you can do that, Danger, look, there's no Poyer and Hyde, and I think that's where this shows up this week, that the fact that those safeties were so important, maybe they would come once in a while, maybe they would kind of double up one of the guys. Are we really trusting Rapp and Hamlin this week to get their assignments down?
I'm more concerned about the loss of Johnson. I mean, yes, the safety, the back end, and their ability to keep everything in front of them, not give up the big play, not miss a tackle when they need to be sure-handed. Having Cam Lewis in that nickel corner spot makes me a little bit nervous. Had a great game against Arizona. I don't want to take anything away from him, but we've seen inconsistencies in his game through the years, and this isn't Arizona's offense we're talking about. This is a Mike McDaniel offense. This is an offense that is about rhythm and Tua getting the ball out of its hands quickly, and the speed of those playmakers for Miami, I think, might be a little too much to ask for Cam Lewis. We'll see.
Yeah, if you put, say, Jalen Waddle in the slot,
forget it.
Yeah, good luck. To me, it would seem like I will let the cat out of the bag here, and I'm not moving off my mark here. What I said at the beginning of the year was I didn't see the Buffalo Bills starting out the season 2-0. I don't think they win this game.
Really?
I see this like as a 10-point loss. It's a short week. As you mentioned, you have things against you. And sure, Josh Allen can do some things, but this isn't this. Kyler Murray was okay. My point being, all those points you brought up here, I think the Dolphins move some points. The Bills don't win that game last year in Week 18 unless it's that big return by Deontay Hardy. So it was that close last year, and this year there's more working against you. I will take the Dolphins by 10 in this game. I'm sorry. I'm not here to wave pom-poms. I'm not a cheerleader. I'm just here to tell you what I think.
You know, I have mixed emotions on this game. I really do, because there's the part of me that hears what you just said about McDermott and his ability as a defensive mind to kind of mute what the Dolphins do or want to do. There's a part of me that views the speed of Miami as insurmountable, that there's nobody that can match up with them. The injury to Johnson hurts, but then I think, well, Josh Allen is daddy. Josh Allen owns this team, and he's an underdog, and he does well when he's an underdog as well. Then I think about the heat and the conditions, and will there be rain, and will there be a delay, and what will that mean for the teams that are playing?
That is a big unknown. Really it is. But gosh, Josh Allen. Let me give you some times. 5 times he's won the AFC Offensive Player of the Week award against Miami. Mm-hmm. Just Miami alone. 41 total touchdowns compared to 13 turnovers. So for those that say, oh, bad Josh. No, this is always awesome Josh against this team. And he's thrown for 2 or more touchdowns in all 13 games against Miami.
So you're still going against the Bills.
I am. It's just a short week. This is a tough spot. It is a lot to ask any team to go on the week. I said this yesterday. This is unfair that you're putting 2 teams. I'm going to say marquee. The Bills are a marquee team, and the Dolphins, the NFL kind of considers they're a playoff team. They would want. Why would you put these teams in week 2? I'll give you the short answer here. It's to placate your TV partner.
That's right.
They gave you Chiefs Chargers week 2 last year, and then Thursday Night Football will revert just to a pile of steam. Steaming crap. That is.
Yeah. I know what you're saying. There's the other part of me that's also like the Dolphins is this the year that the Dolphins become a team that can rise up and beat the better than mediocre teams? Because I feel like they make hay when they're playing inferior opponents. They do what they're supposed to do. They beat inferior opponents. But when they have to face teams of greater, skill or just better teams, that they always falter. They always struggle. And they win last week against Jacksonville. And I think that's a good win for Miami. That's a big win for Miami. I don't think Jacksonville's a slouch. I think Jacksonville's a good team. I think Jacksonville can win the AFC South. And Jacksonville played them tough throughout the entirety of that game. Miami gets over. And when you talk about this spot, does Miami come in with maybe a little bit more confidence than the Buffalo Bills have, knowing that the Bills got the win, but they got the win because Josh Allen played Superman, and that was really what it came down to. That at some point, the rest of the team is going to have to make plays. It can't just all be Josh all the time. It doesn't feel like it's sustainable. It's like winning a game with defense and special teams. You might get a game or two because your defense puts up points or your special teams unit puts up points. It's not sustainable.
How many years in Western New York do we use this phrase when talking about a game coming up against the Patriots? Measuring stick game. Boy, this week it's a measuring stick game for the Buffalo Bills. Are they on the right path? The Patriots. And quite often than not, the measuring stick came out when it was against the Patriots. If you're the Miami Dolphins and you haven't won a playoff game since the year 2000, and one of the reasons you didn't win a playoff game last year, because simply put, you weren't at home. You would have won a playoff game, I would think, against the Steelers in week 1. Oh, but you didn't win the division. That's because you lost to Buffalo in week 18. This is the root of it here. So for all the talk in Miami, going back to the spring here, this is the head coach that legitimately sets the team meetings at 25 past the hour. The reason, just to remind his team, it's been 25 years since you won a playoff game, or 25 seasons. Like, this is step one. They're not going to say outwardly that this game means any more to them. I'm telling you this game means more to them, and they know this internally. So are the Bills ready to go get punched in the mouth coming up tomorrow night? Because that's the way I see it. Like, you mean to tell me you went through the whole offseason? They are prepped for tomorrow night. I just think this is a bad spot for Buffalo.
Yeah, and we've said this time and time again. It's not necessarily who you play, but when you play them. You're not playing Miami late in the season like you did last year or in the postseason like you did a couple.
Up and Tyreek's on one leg.
That's right.
Else, yeah.
That's right. I mean, they're not healthy. They're not entirely healthy, but you could argue they're in better shape right now than the Bills are from an injury standpoint as well. This is a tough one, man. I'm going on tomorrow morning for Tommy Tells It Like It Is on the break room, and I'll share my my prediction for the game at that time. But I am really, really split. I mean, like really, really split, knowing all of these different factors at play. I would love to be able to say with confidence, because I know that the Bills have the talent on the roster and that they're healthy, that they could do to Miami what they normally do to Miami. But I have a hard time doing that in week 2 after the Bills escape with the win against Arizona.
So you're going to agree with Tommy or Duffy tomorrow? Because Duffy will pick the Bills and Tommy will I'll be in alignment with Tommy. He'll pick the Dolphins.
I don't know that Tommy will pick the Dolphins. Tommy's been pretty pro Bills, man. I think he likes his Josh. He likes, he was. I thought he would have taken Arizona last week. He had nothing to do with Arizona. It was all Bills. Bills are going to crush Arizona. Kyler Murray's a little guy. We'll see. We'll see tomorrow morning. But I'm really on the fence. You know what I need? I need more input. I need more data points. I need more people to share their thoughts on the outcome of tomorrow night's game. 866-4326 if you want to join us. 585-866-4FAN. And when I talk about more people sharing their insights, certainly going to pay attention to what PJ Glasser of BetQL's Send It In has to say. When he joins us next, we will talk Week 3 in college football and Week 2 in the NFL, including that Bills-Dolphins matchup tomorrow night with PJ. Next on The Fan.
You're listening to the Sport. Sports Update.
Greg Rousseau named the AFC Defensive Player of the Week. This for the 3 sacks and the forced fumble in the win over Arizona. Getting ready for Miami. Bills pass rusher Von Miller talking about the opponent.
Yeah, it's a divisional rival, so you have somewhat of an idea of what they're going to do, but it's still early in the season. They got a new team, new identity. It still should be pretty interesting come Thursday.
Dolphins running back Devin Achane is questionable. He did practice today on a limited basis. Raheem Mostert has been ruled out. Bills and Dolphins, our pregame coverage on the Fan will begin at 4 o'clock tomorrow. Coming up next, we'll talk to PJ Glasser. Your host to Send It In on the BetQL Network. In progress, the Red Wings trailing in Indianapolis. They're in the 7th, 5-2. The Mets up in Toronto. They're in the 2nd with no score. Gene Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester.
Straight up with no chaser. You're in the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
He is the host of Send It In on the BetQL Network and the free-to-download Odyssey app. Odyssey Sports Betting Insider PJ Glasser. Insider calls presented by BetMGM. Go check out all the latest lines today on the BetMGM app. I'm not bashful. I'm not shy. I want to win some money this weekend. So let's all work together and tail PJ. Get some best bets for this weekend in college and pro football. PJ, welcome back into the Sports Bar. We've got some action on Saturday to discuss. And I have this Bama-Wisconsin matchup circled as one like, oh, I want to see what that looks like. How are you, buddy?
Oh, my bad.
Sorry,
PJ.
Hey, PJ.
I'm doing good, fellas. How you guys doing?
Excellent. Can we start with Saturday and Wisconsin-Bama?
Let's do it. Yeah. So Bama's favored 15.5, 16.5, depending what book you're looking at. Total's about 50.5 in the game. It's not one of my favorite plays of the week, guys, but honestly, if I had to play it, I'd probably lean the points with Bama. Honestly, I think the Wisconsin team total under is probably the play. Tyler Van Dyke's just not any good, the quarterback for Wisconsin, and Bama's defenses look pretty good the first 2 weeks. Obviously, you wonder what they look like with no more Nick Saban and new defensive scheme under Kane Womack, who's their defensive coordinator. But with how they played last week against South Florida, a game that was extremely sloppy, they had a ton of penalties, they had a ton of turnovers, and their offensive line was a little banged up. And some guys that they'll have playing this week on Saturday against Wisconsin, they didn't play initially against South Florida, hoping that, they would kind of cruise in that game. And then they put those guys in the fourth quarter, fellas, and Bama went on like a 21-0 run in the final 6 minutes of the game. So I think Bama will be fine. I think actually them playing pretty bad last week against South Florida is a good wake-up call for them. They got Georgia coming up in 3 weeks. They got a bye in between the Wisconsin and Georgia games. So want to end on a good note heading into the bye week. I'd honestly probably lay it with Bama, guys, at 15.5.
Yeah, that is in the early window, the noon kickoff on Fox. Another early game here, PJ. I want to get your thoughts on Florida State at home against Memphis. Now, PJ, we've been listening to you for 2 years now, and if I'm channeling my inner PJ, it would go something like this. Guys, I love a team that the public overreacts to after a loss. And for Florida State, that's a rough start at 1-2, but they're not this bad where they're only favored by 6.5. I love Memphis, not to cover. I love Florida State in this spot. PJ, did I get that right?
The impersonation, the content, it was all money. Right there. Absolutely. Florida State, guys, 6.5, right? Nobody wants them. This was a team that was top 10 preseason. They lose their first 2 games as double-digit favorites, and now here we are again, and they're a 6.5-point favorite against a Memphis team that a lot of people think could win the Group of 5 this year and make it to the college football playoff. Interesting storyline is that FSU's head coach, Mike Norvell, was the head coach of Memphis, and his offensive coordinator, Ryan Satterfield, is now the head coach of Memphis. So, obviously Satterfield getting to go up against his former employer, and Memphis kind of feeling like they're going into Tallahassee, right, against a Florida State team that's going through it right now and just searching for answers. So I think a lot of people are going to be on Memphis in this game, guys, but you are right, Gene. I like Florida State. I also like the over in this game. Memphis was one of the worst tackling teams in college football last season. Their defense isn't very good. And what we've seen out of FSU the first 2 weeks, they really can't stop the run. Memphis is one of the best quarterbacks in the group of five, and Seth Hannigan, he's been a 4-year starter there. So give me the over 51.5, and I'm laying the 6.5 with the Noles.
PJ Glasser, BetQL sending in, stopping by the sports bar, giving us his best bets for Saturday and Sunday's action in college and pro football. We've got a couple of interstate rivalries happening in the Mountain Time Zone on Saturday, PJ, between Colorado and Colorado State, and we could have a whole conversation on what's going on with the Buffaloes. But you have Utah State circled. What about this matchup is intriguing to you?
So, guys, this is actually my favorite game of the week. I love it for a couple reasons. The first one is the storyline of Utah State's quarterback is Bryson Barnes, who was the quarterback for Utah last season when they had all their injuries at quarterback. Cam Rising got hurt. Their second string got hurt. Bryson Barnes had to take over. So the fact that he gets to play against his former team, I mean, I love that angle. Also, the fact that this game is at Utah State, right? Like, you don't normally see a lot of Power 4 teams go on the road to play a group of five team, and the fact that it's in state, this is going to be Utah State's Super Bowl, right? All those kids that grew up in that area told they weren't good enough to go to Utah, get a chance to play against the Utes. It's a look-ahead spot for Utah as well. They travel to Stillwater next week to take on Oklahoma State in a big game. And then Cam Rising, Utah's quarterback, got dinged up last week against Baylor. There's some rumors going out that he might not play this week against Utah State, but even if he does, I mean, guys, it's just one of those games. Utah wants to get out healthy, right? They don't care how much they win by. They don't care if they win 7-3 or 70-3. They just want to win and get ready for Oklahoma State next week. And Utah State, I mean, they're going. This is their Super Bowl. This is the game that when the schedule came out, they circled first. They get Utah in their stadium. Bryson Barnes going up against his former team. So we're getting a whole lot of points as well with 20.5. So I love Utah State. We had a crazy upset with Northern Illinois last week against Notre Dame, guys. This might be the one this week. Maybe take a little shot at the money line as well.
PJ Glasser, your host of Send It In, weekdays on the BetQL Network. We'll tell you how you can get more PJ Glasser as well as you can hear him on the Fan Rochester coming up Saturday mornings with the new show. We'll tell you about that. Turning to the NFL, PJ, and I guess the one thing I'm looking forward to in the Dallas-New Orleans game, I was at the Bills game last week. I could not watch the Tom Brady broadcast, and I don't know if that game was any good, but I guess Brady is on the call this week for Cowboys and Saints. Here are the Cowboys. I don't even know if you call it making a statement, but they got the win on the road week 1. Are they good enough now to follow that up and cover against the Saints and their home opener?
Yeah, anything under 7, Gene, I would lay it with Dallas, right? I mean, New Orleans had probably the most impressive performance of week 1, but it was against Carolina, and it looks like the Panthers, especially early on in the season, are going to go through some growing pains again. I still think the Saints stink. I'm still not sold on Dallas either, but Deshaun Watson looked really, really bad, and they're going up against another pretty bad quarterback this week in Derek Carr. And these are the games that Dallas typically rolls. Like Dak at home is a big favorite, normally extremely profitable. He covers in these spots. So I do like Dallas, guys. Anything 6.5, 7. Once we get into 7.5 territory, I don't think we will, but if we got there, I wouldn't take it. But 6.5, 7, I like the Cowboys.
We all got bounced, right, last week in Survivor by picking the Bengals to beat the Patriots. However, if we were still alive in our Survivor pools, I think this would be the one we would have circled, the Ravens home opener, hosting the Raiders. Why do you like this matchup, PJ?
So I like the Raiders, Danger, and the Ravens would scare me a little bit in Survivor. I think they win the game, but I'm certainly taking the Raiders plus the points. I'd buy them up to 10. There are some 10s that are starting to surface a little bit. Guys, Lamar Jackson is great as an underdog. We talked about all those trends last week against Kansas City, and he's good as a small favorite. But Lamar is a favorite of 3.5 points or more at home. That's when you want to fade him, ATS. He normally wins, but he normally does not cover in those games. 4-7 against the spread last 3 seasons is a favorite of 3.5 points or more, and 3 of those wins came last season. One was that game against the Bengals when Burrow got hurt in that Thursday night matchup against the Ravens. One was against C.J. Stroud in his very first NFL game in week 1. And then the other one was that playoff game against the Texans as well. So other than that, I mean, Lamar's like 1-7. ATS, guys, is a big favorite. And here come the Raiders with that great pass rush with Crosby and with Christian Wilkins. We saw the Ravens' offensive line against Kansas City really wasn't all that great. Think about the scheduling spot, too, for Baltimore, right? A little bit of an emotional letdown after that Kansas City game. And upcoming, guys, the Ravens are at Dallas, home against Buffalo, and home against Cincinnati the next 3 weeks. So they got some tough games upcoming. They're on the heels of a tough game against Kansas City. I know they have some extended rest, but I like this spot for the Raiders. This is just too many points. Again, I think the Ravens win. Should be good in survivor pools if you want to take them. I would more so lean Houston or probably Dallas or Detroit maybe this week. But I like Las Vegas plus the points.
Yeah, as there was a game on Monday night, PJ, Jets losing to the 49ers. That didn't surprise me. And the 49ers are a Super Bowl team from last season. And, the Jets offense may be a little rusty. Maybe what was surprising is that the Jets defense gave up 8 straight point drives against that resulted in points to the 49ers. My question, the Jets, bounce back spot for them. They're playing in Tennessee. Do you like the Jets enough to cover 3.5?
I would actually lean towards the Titans here in this spot, Gene, just because, again, guys, like it's all, when I'm betting the NFL, it's all about perception and how people are looking at these teams, right? And the takeaway from the Jets-Niners game is, it was Rodgers' first games back. Like, the arm talent is still there. He made some really good throws. But the Jets were going up against one of the best teams in the NFL. They were fine. Run defense was a little bit of a concern. And Tennessee against Chicago last week, they ran the ball pretty decent. Tony Pollard, 16 carries for 84 yards. Their defense played really well. You're going to have L'Jarius Sneed on Garrett Wilson. And, I mean, watching the Jets offense, like Lazard did have a couple touchdowns, but outside of Lazard, I mean, there really wasn't much else. So I think Tennessee can do a pretty good job of stopping the Jets. And again, guys, I mean, Tennessee should have won that game by 2 touchdowns. It was just a complete meltdown.
Yeah.
The Bears did nothing on offense. So imagine the conversation around this game if Tennessee won by 2 scores like they probably would have. I mean, this line's 2.5, 3 points, and we view Tennessee way differently. So you guys know I love that kind of stuff. Will Levis certainly is a concern, but I just think we're just kind of all giving the Jets a pass when maybe that defense isn't as good as we all think it was coming into the season. And offensively, a little bit of concern of some consistency at wideout other than Garrett Wilson. I'll take the Titans plus the points at home.
Now, when the schedule was released earlier this year, we had this one circled like, ooh, this is a good week 2 matchup. And now you look at it and you're like, yeah, it's still a rivalry, but man, it feels like these are 2 teams in different directions when you talk about what we saw to the Chiefs last Thursday and what we saw to the Bengals that we mentioned booted us from our survivor pool, losing to New England in their home opener. They face off against each other this weekend. Do you think the Bengals bounce back? Do you think Joe Burrow has anything left in that arm?
I do, guys, and this is my favorite bet of the week. I love Cincinnati plus the points. Now, I do think Kansas City wins the game, but I'm going to give you guys a great stat that in the 4 meetings that Burrow and Mahomes have faced each other, all 4 of those games have been decided by exactly 3 points. And we know if there's one team and quarterback that has Mahomes' number, it's Burrow and the Bengals. He's 3-1 against them straight up, but these games are always close. It's like the classic Ravens-Steelers games. It's just like, even though they're obviously not in the same division, it does feel like Cincinnati and Kansas City is kind of like, right, Buffalo and KC and the Ravens and KC. Like all these great AFC quarterbacks go up against Kansas City. I mean, these games are always close, and they always come down to the end. So I know the Bengals look terrible in week 1. People are going to get scared off of them again because Zach Taylor and Joe Burrow are now 1-8 in their careers in week 1 and 2. This is just what the Bengals do. They always get off to slow starts. So that's why I don't like them to win the game. But you guys know that they're going to be fired up. Kansas City knows that they're going to get Cincinnati's best shot. And, I mean, these games are just always close, guys. So if we're getting 6, I mean, that's a lot of points for a Bengals and Chiefs game that usually comes right down to the wire. I love Cincinnati this week.
PJ Glasser, our guest. All right, PJ, we left the Bills and Dolphins for last here. Tomorrow night, Miami giving 2.5 points. Today we learned that Raheem Mostert will not be dressing in this. Looks indicating that it will be that certainly Devon Achane will be available. Bills without Taron Johnson, the important nickel corner in that defense. How do you view this?
Yeah, guys, I think the under is my favorite play, probably at 49. I think this is just too many points. Thursday night under is usually pretty profitable, and we know the Bills this year are going to commit to the run more, even with the injuries that the Dolphins have to their running back situation. You mentioned Mostert, Gino. Achane looks like he's going to be a game-time decision, too. I just think both teams probably going to put a little more emphasis on running the ball a little bit. I feel like a lot of these Bills-Dolphins games in Miami, you guys would know a lot better, but it does feel like these games are lower scoring, right? Like 21-14, games usually in the low 20s. So I just think 49 is too many points. Buffalo, obviously, with a great comeback against Arizona last week, but Dolphins defense much better than Arizona. I don't think they're going to allow the Bills to work the ball down the field as easily as the Cardinals did. So, look, it's a big advantage for the Bills, obviously, playing this game at night so they don't have to deal with some of that South Florida heat during the day in September. Usually the Dolphins have a huge home field advantage this time of year, so that is definitely an advantage for the Bills. But the under, I like. I think 49 is too many points in this game.
If you had to pick straight up, if you had to pick one, which way are you leaning?
I think I would lean the Dolphins if I had to pick it.
Yeah.
I think I'd take Miami. Yeah, how are you guys feeling about the game?
I said Miami by 10 here. I just think it's one of those measuring stick games for the Dolphins. The Dolphins in Week 18. You love narrative, PJ. The Dolphins leading the Bills at halftime. And then they give up a punt return for a touchdown, and the Bills go on and win. So, to me, the Dolphins win that. They're the 2 seed. They get Pittsburgh at home. How things kind of changed, they didn't. So, this is, it's pretty much the same cast of characters. And, by the way, the game time temperature tomorrow night, 82 degrees. We're keeping our fingers crossed for no thunderstorms out there, PJ. I don't know how that will play into it.
Man, yeah. Again, look, it is going to be hot. Certainly an advantage for the Bills that this isn't a 1 o'clock game and they get to play it at night. But Josh Allen, as you guys know, if he limits the turnovers and doesn't have any like he did against Arizona, and he's being Superman, they certainly have a chance. But yeah, anything under 3, I would probably lean Miami with the points, but the under would be my play in the game tomorrow.
Very good, PJ. Talk to us about Send It In and what you got going on this weekend here on the Fan Rochester as well.
Yeah, guys, 1 to 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time. You can check out my show, Send It In, Mondays through Fridays. We're on twitch.tv/BetQL, YouTube.com/Odyssey Sports. And then also over the weekend, I do a college show every Saturday morning, 9 to 10 a.m. Eastern with Ryan Horvath, BetQL Tailgate Kickoff, which you can also check out on Twitch and YouTube. And then we're live from National Harbor on Sundays, 1 to 5 p.m. Eastern Time, myself and Nick Ashew. And it's awesome, guys. Like, having that first NFL Sunday back, isn't it just crazy, the witching hour, and how all those games just flip in the blink of an eye? Like, we obviously get it every year, but to just have it back and you watch all those games, like the second half of the Bills game and the Bears come back and the Steelers come back and just all of these games, it's the best. So can't wait for another great weekend of football.
PJ, I'll be full disclosure, and Gino knows this because I texted it to him. Halftime of those early games on Sunday, I was questioning why I'm an NFL fan. I was telling him I should be a soccer fan. I like soccer, I like soccer. Maybe I could be a soccer fan because nothing looked the way it was supposed to look. Nothing, and it turned out okay. We enjoy the ride, and that's all it is, man. It's a roller coaster ride, and we're on week 2 of it this weekend. Thank you for the insight, and thank you for the winners.
Absolutely, guys. I, too, am a soccer fan now because our new coach is Mauricio Pochettino. See you guys next week.
Thanks, PJ.
Thank you, PJ.
See you guys.
PJ Glasser.
Wow. It's a walk-off shot there.
Host of Send It In on the BetQL Network. He knows his audience. He knows what's going to get us. That Baltimore accent is a killer. Who's the guy that plays for the Blue Jays, since we got the Mets and the Blue Jays on here in the studio? Is it Loperfido? Loperfido, I want to say his name is. He's good entrant for the Baltimore accent bracket when we work on that here for March for PJ.
As far as all the picks PJ made, which one surprised you the most? I'm going to tell you. Did not see him taking the Titans as a home underdog. Can you imagine what is being said in New York? It's one thing for the Jets to lose against the 49ers, okay, but if the Jets lost to Will Levis, after Will Levis looked the way he did against Chicago?
The good news for the Titans is it's not likely that Will Levis is going to gift another team a win the way he did to Chicago. Like, that's the kind of boneheaded mistake you make once, you never make that mistake again.
You make it again, you're losing your
That's
job.
right.
Yeah.
That's right. You don't get the luxury of just handing over games to opponents the way Will Levis did to Chicago last week. So chances are he doesn't make that mistake twice. And even then, all that being said, how much of what we saw on Monday is San Francisco being a really good team, and how much of what we saw is that maybe the Jets defense, this isn't as good as we thought they were going to be coming into this season.
Not against the run, and if Pollard and you have Spears there with the Titans, the 3.5, I thought for sure, okay, this is the Jets' bounce back spot, but it's tough to go coast to coast, and then the Jets are on the road this week. I think that is unfair too. Why they can't have if you were on the road week 1, can you be home week 2? There are a few teams in this league that are going to be the Raiders. Part of that too, where the Rams, they have to be back-to-back on the road weeks 1 and 2.
I know that this isn't anything where you can put a number to it or anything like that, but I always think about when I'm looking at these games and these matchups and trying to predict outcomes, the vibes around the team. I think that matters. You know what I mean? The Jets get their butts kicked in San Francisco. Hassan Reddick still not with the team. Sauce Gardner appeared to be upset.
Right.
Aaron Rodgers rolling his eyes, being Aaron Rodgers. What are the vibes like around the Jets?
I thought you were going to say, what are the vibes like in Cincinnati?
Well,
PJ, PJ
another one.
Yeah, PJ picking the Bengals, and I get the Bengals always are in the thorn of the side of the Chiefs, but I would just say, hey, if you're in Kansas City, it's payback time. Okay, you're down. Okay, we're the champs. We're looking to three-peat here. We're going to put our foot on your neck. You're going to run your mouth? Okay, that's why I think the Chiefs roll the Bengals this week.
Right. And I guess that's where you and I are thinking differently than PJ. PJ's
Right.
looking for value with those lines, and I think to myself, what are the vibes like around the team? I know that that's not like a number, or you can't look at anything statistically. There's not a vibe meter for every team, but man, I imagine that in Cincinnati, where T. Higgins is playing on a franchise tag when he's playing, he's not playing because he's been injured, where Jamar Chase doesn't have his contract, where you've got you can tell there's some hurt feelings there. Cleveland, bad vibes.
Yeah, and her feelings, and then I'm watching the video afterward where they're showing Joe Burrow shaking his hand. It's like, oh gosh, that's still bothering him, the wrist.
Yeah, bad vibes there.
Yeah.
Bad vibes in Cleveland. Bad vibes with the Jets. And I don't know how much of that factors into these outcomes, but I do think it is interesting to kind of view, how bad are the vibes with some of these teams that we actually had higher hopes for going into the season, and through 1 week just don't look the way we thought they would look. Well, I appreciate PJ sharing some time with us and giving us his favorite plays, not just from the pro games on Sunday, but also the college games on Saturday. Colorado State's one I got to pay attention to. I have to see it fall apart for Coach Prime. They should beat Colorado State.
They're things have turned quicker than I thought they would against Coach Prime, to the point where I'm nagging Perloff this morning, and they're talking about is Coach Prime actually hurting his son in terms of his NFL draft, value, which I think that's an interesting debate right now. Shador is where he is because of his dad, but moving forward, all right, some of these things that are happening with the Colorado team, whether that's, hey, we're gonna play a rap song here, we're not gonna have the band play after a touchdown. Really?
Yeah,
that's
and Nebraska, playing it in the locker room afterwards in a win. Again, vibes not great. Not great vibes in Colorado. Not great vibes around that program right now. And that's a big part of it, I think, what you're describing there. Super Agent Lee Steinberg stops by the sports bar next hour.
Super Agent.
Yeah. And Rochesterian, I should mention. He's one of us. Dated a girl from Rochester once. Speaks highly of her. We will get Lee Steinberg on with us here in about half an hour, 45 minutes or so. And we have time for your calls on the other side as well at 866-4326. 585-866-4FAN.
You're listening to BF Rochester, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester, an Odyssey sports station. The Fan, Rochester, sports update.
Greg Rousseau named the AFC Defensive Player of the Week. This for the 3 sacks and a forced fumble in the win over Arizona. Now it's on to Miami tomorrow night. Terrell Bernard on Tua Tagovailoa.
Yeah, I think his accuracy, his decision-making, and then, you could just tell he's comfortable in the offense. He throws the ball on time. He knows where his guys are going to be. He has spots that he likes to get to, and you can feel his sense of awareness and how comfortable he is when he's back there.
Dolphins running back Devon Achane is questionable. He did practice today on a limited basis, ruled out. Dolphin running back Raheem Mostert. Bills and Dolphins, our pregame coverage tomorrow begins at 4 o'clock here on The Fan. Rochester Red Wings about to drop their 5th in a row. They trail 6-2 in the 9th at Indianapolis. Mets and Toronto, no score. They go to the 5th. Cleveland leading the White Sox 5-4 in the 5th. Gene Battaglia, The Fan, Rochester.
The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia.
Of course, today is 9/11, and a day that we will never, ever forget in this country.
This is something that is part of our heritage and the fabric of our everyday lives.
The Bills travel to take on the Dolphins.
I cannot believe week 2 is already here.
The Dolphins have ruled out running back Raheem Mostert for tomorrow night's game with the Bills because of a chest injury. Teammate Devon Achane is a game-time decision with an ankle.
Devon Achane was at practice today.
Mike Danger.
Kind of feel like the Bills could get this win. Got to feel like the Bills get this dub. There's something about the Bills against Miami. McDermott and his defense have always seemed to stifle Tua, and Josh Allen has always performed well against the Dolphins.
Gene Battaglia.
Like if it ends up being Jeff Wilson and some nobody running the ball for the Dolphins, are the Dolphins tough enough to wade through lightning delays potentially?
95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
So you found your favorite show if you're a sports fan. If you play sports, if you're a gym class hero, men's league. I'm bringing it up because I know there are people that listen, and we have people that we work with playing men's leagues, hockey, softball, pickup basketball, whatever it is.
You should never leave you, right? Like, I wish I had more time. I could see myself playing softball in retirement. Even like you're going to go, we have your golf foursome. Mm-hmm. Like we don't give this up, right? You're always competing at one level or another.
I stopped playing beer league hockey probably like around 9 years or so ago because I tore my ACL. I tore my ACL when I
9 times.
When I got tangled up with a friend of mine who was playing for the other team, and you can laugh and joke about it at the time, but I'm like, son of a bitch. You hear the pop, and this injury is devastating, and you have to have surgery, and you have to recover, and then you're not really the same afterwards. Everybody's different in how they deal with their recovery. But men's league hockey is something that I enjoyed playing when we did it. We had a good few-year run there. As the premature shooters, Duffy played in that team. We made some friendships, and when you play these sports, even if it's men's league or beer league, whatever it is, you develop and forge friendships that will last a lifetime. I haven't seen a lot of the guys that I played with in the shooters for years, but if I run into them, we're picking it up just like where we left off.
Dude, that is true. Like, you haven't seen your high school teammates
for
how many decades?
Same.
Nothing. And I think that's a guy thing too, right? Like, you have got people that you're really close to. Like, one of my close friends growing up, I haven't talked to him, I don't think, this calendar year. But I knew if, he picked up the phone, called me right now, no problem.
No question.
Yeah.
Right. I keep trying to reinforce this to my kids. She stopped playing soccer during the pandemic. I'm like, you know what? The kids that you played soccer with, your travel team, you could reach out to any of them now, even though you haven't talked to them in a couple of years, even though you haven't played soccer, and you'll pick it up right where you left off because you all have this common bond, this thing that will bind you forever because you are all teammates and you all have these unbelievable memories. And it's with that in mind that I wanted to send a special shout out to former NHL goaltender Roberto Luongo.
All right. You didn't play beer league hockey with him.
Did you see what he did?
No.
Roberto Luongo, the former NHL goalie, responded to a Facebook goalie needed ad for men's league hockey. He shows up and he helps the team that recruited him, or the team that asked for his services, helps them, his team, defeat the defending champs. Final score 4-2. Which is, it's a great story. It's making headlines everywhere. It's cute. But Luongo let in 2. Luongo let in 2 in the ship in men's beer league hockey? Dude, I'm telling you, premature shooters, all-star goalie Bob Craig over at the Red Wings, he gets you a win and a shutout in beer league.
Wow, okay. That's interesting. Because maybe it's a 2-0. Like, what would be you're going against an all-time great?
Yes.
Like, what other sport could you actually get over on an all-time great?
I don't know that. I mean, look, letting in 2 in men's league and you're Roberto Luongo, shameful. Shameful. Yeah, you got the win, but I'm not showing my face around that rink anymore. You let in 2.
Yeah, if you're going up to bat against some ex-major league pitcher, you're not still. That pitcher might be 10 years out of the game. You're not touching
I'm not touching it.
No, you're not touching it. You're not blowing one by.
The only thing I think is what level of beer league this is. Because, admittedly, my level of men's league hockey is not the same level as most level. Like, I was at a very low D-level whale crap men's league hockey versus, the guys that actually played in college. And
you went from you had graduates of the Never Ever program.
That's
all of a sudden
right.
going up to play
That's
you.
right.
So this is not the same.
So guys like me that played, youth hockey, get to, lace them up like we were, 15 again and look like heroes against against guys that just learned how to skate not too long ago. But Luongo letting in 2, I think is a little bit shameful. But They get the win. Congratulations. And I love that Roberto Luongo, he's scrolling through Facebook and he responds to a goalie needed ad, shows up and helps them take down the defending champ.
It's like, wait, you're Roberto Lombardo. Okay, come on in here,
right,
Roberto.
Right. I mean, and I know that probably happens here locally because we've got some former players that still, reside in the Rochester area. When they show up, if you're in a locker room and, oh God, here comes Rory. Oh man, Gio's here. Oh God,
You think those guys still show up?
I don't know.
Think so.
I don't know. I think that there's enough people that play, around town that they'll share stories like, oh yeah, we had that one time where so and so showed up. So you kind of hear little whispers every now and then of just a random sighting.
I don't think Brian Giunta this day is like, you know what? I want to just go hit the ice.
I think Gio's in Buffalo most of the time, right? Because that's where his kids are playing hockey.
Regardless, I don't think wherever Brian Giunta is showing up on a rink playing men's league hockey, whether it's Buffalo or on the moon.
You just don't love the game, Gene. He would do it for the love of the game. I don't have James Earl Jones' voice.
No. You're morphing the Kevin Costner movies.
I know.
For love of the game is when he's the pitcher.
That's right.
Yes, the James Earl Jones one. Baseball is the fabric of our country. If you missed it yesterday,
the one constant in life is baseball. It's the this field, this game.
So is it like a blackboard?
The one constant through all the years, Ray. It's been baseball. Baseball's been rolled by like an army of steamrollers. It's erased like a blackboard. It's been rebuilt. And then the erasers, they went in the back of the school with the erasers. They pounded them against my face, and I got covered in chalk dust. I got bullied by the baseball players. And I want to sue them, and I want to sue James Earl Jones and Kevin Costner. And his wife, who yelled at me at the town hall meeting. She was very mean, very hurtful. This game is part of our past, and I want to sue Rob Manfred, Joe Torre. I'm suing everybody. Punitive damages.
Did the brother push you down the stairs?
Yes, he pushed me down the stairs, and it was painful, and I fell down the stairs, and my glasses fell off. I broke my glasses, and my shoes fell off, and I fell on my ass pipe. And I'm very hurt and distraught by that brother. Yeah, James Earl Jones has to deliver that speech. It can't be Saul Rosenberg. It needs to be James Earl Jones talking about
Jones. Yeah. This morning, and we talked about this. I want to say when this came up, somebody had a fantasy football punishment, and whether that's you're going to dress, you're going to do this, well, this was a fantasy football punishment, and now Maggie and Perloff are bringing this to real life. I don't know what the bet was. Maggie lost it. She's dreading this. The Waffle House Challenge. Do you remember this? Are you familiar with the Waffle House Challenge? 24 hours, you have to sit in a Waffle House, but for every pancake you eat, you get 1 hour knocked off.
Pancake or waffle?
Pancake.
Okay.
Yeah, at the Waffle House.
Okay.
Now I'm mixing my metaphors. How many could you throw down, Danger? Legitimately.
Pancakes?
Yeah, because here would be my strategy. You don't eat for a full day. You're doing a little fasting, okay? You're just going water. And then you get to the Waffle House at 5 a.m., let's say. And I think with preparation, I believe I could throw down 5 pancakes at the outset, then a little break, and then maybe 3 hours later slog your way through 3 more. And then will and desire, wolf 1 more down, go home. With this strategy, I think I could get out of there by 7 p.m.
So my first question is, because I've never been, how big are the pancakes that they serve at Waffle House? Are these the pancakes that cover the whole plate, or are they like flapjacks, little smaller, like, this? Like
I think that's what the Waffle House is known for. It's like you're talking about a full pancake.
Oh, God. They're like the size of a plate, and they're stacking those up. I could probably, up front, one sitting, get 6 down. I think I could get 6. But after that,
you're just sitting around.
Pace. It's just pace, I guess. I mean, that sounds horrible, actually. Waffles I would take. Waffles, to me, I think, for each, one waffle, does one waffle knock off an hour, or do you have to have 2 waffles? I guess if it was 1 waffle per hour, for some reason, waffles feel like they would be easier for me to digest. Maybe they're fluffier, a little bit more airy, light. The density of a pancake feels like it would be a problem for me. God bless Maggie.
There is a Waffle House in Plainfield, New Jersey.
Is that where they're going?
Or you could go to Bethlehem, PA. I don't know where they're going to go, but there is there's one in Scranton too. But no, as we've mentioned before here,
Scranton's our closest one, right?
Yeah,
and that's not very close. That's a good 4 or so. Yeah, I know at some point in my life I'll probably end up at a Waffle House, but it's never been a destination. And I'm not really like actively seeking out Waffle Houses. Buc-ee's, on the other hand,
Buc-ee's, I wasn't even familiar with Buc-ee's, and
you're intrigued.
I am intrigued. Like, if this, you're talking about the cleanliness and the variety and everything.
Cleanest bathrooms you'll find on the road.
It sounds like the Wegmans of truck stops.
For sure. Yes. Very well said. Exactly right. What do you want? Oh, you want prime rib, or you want a brisket sandwich? Here you go. What flavored jerky do you like? Because we've got all of them. What snacks are you into? We've got all of them. Oh, you need a cooler? We've got that too. It's just got the Beaver logo on it. Whatever you need, you have it right there. It's Buc-ee's it's more than a truck stop. It's so big, you walk in and you can actually see the curvature of the earth. It's amazing, man. I love Buc-ee's.
Yeah, my quick 30-second story on Waffle House. It's the only time I actually experienced, hey, Northerner, you really don't belong here. I'm in my early 20s. Exactly. It's actually get a load of this. This is like one of the first trips the executive producer and I take, and it's one of her friends' weddings, and that's down in Lakeland, Florida. Lakeland, Florida. Well, this doesn't happen in Lakeland, Florida. I'm like, hey, why don't we go to the Gulf? We go over to Clearwater. We go to a Waffle House. Because why? I wanted to check it out. We go to the Waffle House, and I'm in my mid-20s, and I'm wearing, don't ask me what, I remember why, a Vanderbilt hat. Vanderbilt football, because my dad went to Nashville. He brought me back something, which was really nice of him. And I wear this Vanderbilt hat, and the waiter comes over, and he's all excited. He's ready to talk some SEC football. And he's spewing all this stuff about Vanderbilt. And I had no idea what Vanderbilt was going on.
You're just wearing the hat because it's a gift.
I'm like, yeah. And I'm just like, I'm sorry that they're not really my team. Well, who's your team? Syracuse. The word Syracuse is just kind of hanging out there.
Yeah. That's one you'd like to have back.
When I'm telling you, I'm not making this up. No one would come and wait on us after that point.
You're on your own, Yankee.
You're on your own. We ended up getting up and leaving.
That's that Southern hospitality that you hear so much about.
Yeah, Syracuse football. Beat it.
I love looking for things in the day-to-day that are just so clickbaity in our world. Like, remember, we've talked about this before. People who will say this. When the words changed my life come out of somebody's mouth, like they're talking about a product or they're talking about something that changed my life. Well, how miserable was your life before you switched razor brands, Scott?
Can you stop right there? It's not even the change my life. Go to any website right now, and I guarantee you're going to find a headline that is, hey, they're going to tell you the headline, but it's not good enough for the headline. You need to click here. It's like most of them, and I could pull up one right now, but yeah. Police investigate murder-suicide in Penn Yan. What you need to know.
Right.
Okay. You just told me what I need to know. Literally, that's the headline right now on the website.
Well, we talk about how the day after March Madness is over, they'll have Joe Lunardi's bracket projections for the next year. Like, it's all clickbait, right?
I remember Danger one time, like, I got mad at him on the air. Like, that's clickbait. You were taken aback when I'm talking about.
You're right. Power rankings are clickbaity. Power rankings and all that. But when I hear somebody say, changed my life. Well, Susan, how bad was your life before you decided to switch hair care products? I don't understand the person who says, changed my life. Now, this is a new one, my new favorite. When you see a video cross your feed and they start with, stop what you're doing and listen up. I'll see it, I'll hear it, I'll read it. And what I don't think that person that's delivering the message is realizing at the moment as I'm receiving their message, I'm not doing anything. Stop what I'm doing. I'm not doing anything but scrolling. I'm not doing anything. Stop what you're doing. Like, should I stop breathing? Because as we're mindlessly scrolling, none of us are really doing anything. Stop what you're doing. Listen up. Nah, I'm not doing anything. I'm glaring into my screen and I'm scrolling. And I'm probably laying down while doing so. I'm not doing anything. What do I need to stop?
When I see that, it's the mute button, or that just tells me, hey, you're not being productive. Get up, do some laundry, do something else.
So stop what you're doing is a good sign for you to get up and try and do something.
Yeah, when somebody talks to me that way, like, no, you're not allowed to talk to me.
Stop what you're doing and listen up. I've got to tell you a mess. No. I don't need to stop what I'm doing. I will first. I mean, I'm not going to stop breathing if that's what you're asking. I'm just not going to do it. Sorry.
So we're a proud home of St. John Fisher football here on the Fan Rochester. This is a story from years ago, and I'm going somewhere with this, where they're doing the halftime kick contest, right? Hey, we're going to bring on the student, and if you make this field goal from, I forget where it was, from 35 yards, let's say, you will be getting a $500 certificate to the bookstore. So they bring out the student and everything else. And I remember the person in charge of the contest yelling from the press box, he's using a T! He can't use a T! Stop! And then the kid kicks it through. Yay! They're all excited, and this was against the rule, broke a rule, but nobody, they ended up giving, because that's the right thing to do. This story has context here. So at Purdue this week, they had this contest. Student comes down, has a chance to win a car.
Oh.
And this isn't from that far out, 30 yards.
Okay.
Oh, wait a second. Start the clock. You have to make 3 30-yard field goals in 30 seconds.
Okay.
Doesn't the kid make it? Doesn't the crowd go wild? What an atmosphere. Like Purdue football. What are we all excited about? Hey, you won the car. Woo, 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 woo. And then the next day, the kid is told, well, sorry, you were 0.007 seconds off of what was required.
Get up.
30.007 seconds. I mean, who are the dumbasses at Purdue that actually signed off on this? Who is the car dealership? Are you kidding me? Do you understand how much negative pub you're getting out of this? Give the kid his damn car.
It's stories like this, and this is us. We're in this industry where we come up with ideas and promotions, and hey, what if we gave away this, and would that get more people to show up to this thing or this business? And we come up with those ideas and those solutions, and it's stories like this that make me not want to do any of that anymore, because I think you listening and the general public, they're just jaded. Like, think about how our lives have changed so much, where your phone will ring and the first words out of the person's mouth will be, "Congratulations!" and you hang up the phone. You don't even wait for them to finish the word, but you hang up the phone.
Yes.
That's where we're at. We don't
Yeah.
trust it, and we don't believe that what seems to be too good to be true probably is too good to be true. So congratulations, you hit those 3 field goals, but by 0.7 seconds, sorry, the rules are the rules. Can't give you the car, kid. Sorry about that. Well, yeah, now the rest of us, societally, we're like, well, I don't trust any of these contests. I don't want to play in your con. And furthermore, I'm not going to play the lottery. I'm not going to, like, what's the point? What is the point? We hear the phone ring, or the phone will vibrate, and you'll pick it up because it's a scam caller. You have no idea. And congratulations, click. I don't even want to know what is on the other end of congratulations anymore.
Yeah, I don't play the lottery because I don't like to give out my personal info. It says the guy who's on the radio that does this and actually uses his own name. But I'm saying I don't want to give you my email, my cell phone. I don't want to give you any of that.
I mean, I just like money too much. Just give it to New York State for the lottery.
If you're Purdue, aren't you like squeezing this car dealership? Like, get out of here with this.
The lawyers. Who's to blame? The lawyers. I mean, get the lawyers. The lawyers aren't going to concede. This is the rule. Can't bend the rule. The rules are the rules. Everything was applied the way it was supposed. It would be a goodwill gesture for them to say, "Here's the car. Our bad." They're not going to do that. That's bad for business.
No,
it would be good for business.
That would be good, but now this is terrible PR.
But it just shows you that they never had any intention or never really wanted to give away a car.
No.
It's never the intention. Like,
no.
Can't wait to give away this car. Oh, crap. We got to give away this car. They don't want to do that.
That's why most of these contests, they buy the insurance.
Of course. Yeah. That's right. Lee Steinberg, super agent and Rochesterian. Joining us next on The Fan.
Sports Update.
Defensive end Greg Rousseau named the AFC Player of the Week. This for the Bills' win over Arizona. And now it's on to Miami. Bills pass rusher Von Miller on the opponents.
Yeah, it's a divisional rival, so you have somewhat of an idea of what they're going to do, but it's still early in the season. They got a new team, new identity. It still should be pretty interesting come Thursday.
For the Dolphins, running back Devon Achane is questionable. He did practice today on a limited basis. Raheem Mostert has been ruled out. Bills and Dolphins, our pregame coverage will begin at 4 o'clock tomorrow here on The Fan Rochester. We'll talk some football coming up next. Super agent Lee Steinberg joining us in the sports bar. Baseball, the Red Wings lose their 5th straight, 6-4 at Indianapolis. Blue Jays leading the Mets 1-0 in the 6th. Cleveland leading the White Sox in the 6th, 5-4. Gene Battaglia, The Fan Rochester.
Top Shelf Sports Talk. You're hanging out in the sports bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
Not going to let it go with our next guest. Not only is he a super agent, but he's a Rochesterian. He's one of us. We claim him as ours. Lee Steinberg stopping by the sports bar once again. My friend, thank you so much for making time for us here. And I know we're going to talk a lot of player safety with you here in a bit. But, man, we're 1 week into the NFL season, and we were talking earlier about just general vibes around teams that have good vibes versus bad times as they head into week 2. I think of a team like the Jets where you still have Hassan Reddick not there, holding out, not getting his contract. They lose in the way that they lose to San Francisco. The Browns certainly feel like a team with bad vibes. The Bengals, a team that might have some bad vibes since Jamar Chase didn't get it. You represented a lot of high-profile players through your career. Is that a thing? Does that happen with teams where if a player doesn't necessarily get his, there's bad vibes around a team?
I think that it's a failure on both parties' behalf in that situation because if you take Hassan Reddick, he's aggregated some number of millions of dollars of fines. And the fact that it actually went into the regular season is stunning. That era is mostly gone. We don't have rookie holdouts anymore because of the salary cap. And when you have players renegotiating their contracts, it ought to be done quietly behind the scenes. That's the most effective. But when it turns into a full-scale confrontation, people lock into their positions, and it doesn't get better, it gets worse. And the last thing a team needs is a lot of discussion about a player who's not there. What they're looking for is unity, solidarity, team spirit. So it's not a positive.
We're trying to always assess blame, but when I look at the Reddick thing, is it just simply about communication? And to me, it seems like a communication breakdown. Whether that was the Jets, whether it was the agent, I don't know, and I'm sure you don't know either. But just the importance of communication, part one of the question, and then part two, how would you advise a team? Because this doesn't do anybody any good right now, where the Jets and Reddick are. How would you advise the team to get out of this situation?
So communication, as you mentioned, would tell you early on that there was going to be a contract confrontation between the team and the player. And then the key would be to start early in the off season. Now, most veteran contracts are done by comparisons, or what we call comps. So you take players at Reddick's position, his level of performance, you look at statistics, you look at honors, you look at how productive the team is with him, and you try to compare that to other comparable players. And there exists a market which is pretty clear. And so then the only question becomes, where should this player fit into the market? And I think one way to view this is whether or not the salaries in a situation like Reddick are guaranteed. If they are guaranteed, then the team's on the hook if the player performance slides, and they have to pay him anyway, whether he's injured or the rest of it. If the money is not guaranteed, then it's only a ceiling on what he can make. It's not a floor. They could cut him at any time. And in that situation, you understand. But this all ought to happen privately behind the scenes, and these discussions need to commence really early in the off season. One thing I used to say in negotiations to try to get some urgency is, let's imagine that we're sitting here and the players have been out of camp for a number of weeks. There are bad headlines in the newspaper. We've got a coach who's upset about the situation. What would your position be in that circumstance? And maybe we can avoid it by putting a sense of urgency into trying to conclude this before it spills over into the season.
Agent Lee Steinberg, our guest in the Sports Bar, Danger and Battaglia on the Fan, Rochester. Lee, you repped Troy Aikman, so you've dealt with Jerry Jones in the past. And I think the flip side to what we're talking about with teams that might have bad vibes, in Dallas, it took them a little bit of time, and you had some distraction there, but ultimately Dak gets paid, CeeDee Lamb gets paid. You know Micah Parsons is probably going to get his at some point as well. Dealing with Jerry Jones and knowing that he is as in front of it as he is with the media, does it make your job easier, tougher? Do you just know at the end of the day it's going to get done?
Jerry is a really great owner in a business sense, and you can make a rational argument to him, and as long as you've got statistics and to buttress it, he wants to win so badly that he will make a pragmatic deal all the time. Remember that some of the reaction to the Dak Prescott contract was, well, he's certainly not rated as the top quarterback in the league. Why is he getting the top money? But remember that I remember talking to Jerry about Troy Aikman's rookie contract, and he says, but it's so much money. And I said, I guarantee you, Jerry, in 2 years, people will be talking about how Troy is not paid what he should be, and he's underpaid because the market adjusts. So one way to look at it is, if not Dak Prescott, then who would play quarterback for the Cowboys? Because teams that can't make their mind up whether or not a player is a franchise quarterback and someone they can build a team around and can play for 10 to 12 years, then you get a Kirk Cousins type situation where you never have a sense of confidence that this player is the heart of your team. And now we have franchise quarterbacks that are being paid just like and higher than star baseball players and basketball players, but the money's there to justify it. I think if I was in charge of pro football, I would probably make the quarterback contract a outlier and not count it against the cap.
Lee Steinberg, our guest here in the Sports Bar. Lee, if you were advising your client, when it comes to player safety, and we have these new Guardian caps, and we only had 4 players in the league, and some could say, I'm surprised there were even 4. Considering, like in Major League Baseball, they tried this out with pitchers, and you had a few. Now nobody wears those today. But Lee, what would be your advice to any player, whether or not you should wear one of these?
Concussion and the specter of it gave me a crisis of conscience back in the late 80s because I'm representing half the starting quarterbacks, and we would go to teams and ask with quarterbacks with multiple concussions, how many is too many? What's the magic number? When should you consider retirement? And there were no answers. So I started holding concussion and player safety conferences and held the last one at our Super Bowl party in Las Vegas. And the concept of multiple concussions causing proclivity towards Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, premature senility, chronic traumatic encephalopathy, and depression is so serious that I advise any player to utilize anything. Now, I've seen a variety of statistics in connection with like the Guardian helmet, anywhere from 10% to 33% to 50%. A helmet is not going to stop concussions. It's a collision sport. But if it can make it even marginally safer, I'm all for it.
So, Lee, if we could debate whether or not the NFL truly cares about player safety. They sure make it look like they care about player safety, but you can't debate when a parent, whether or not a parent cares about their kid's safety when they're on the field of competition. Why wouldn't this be something that's installed as early as the youth level to normalize it a little bit more if you're playing football?
I think that's a great suggestion. I mean, we've experimented at the collegiate level and at the pro level with not having any hitting during training camp or during practices and saving it all for the games. We're teaching better techniques in terms of blocking and tackling to young people. But you make a good point. There has to be buy-in from like the high school federations, the NCAA, and different colleges, and then pro franchises. In other words, it's got to be something the NFLPA pushes, that teams, at the league level and individual franchises go ahead and do this because. Look, the difference between concussion and every other injury is we know that players will have aches and pains when they retire, and then at age 40 may have problems picking up their child. It's another thing not to be able to recognize that child. We're talking about the brain, the center of consciousness, memory, what it means to be a sentient human being.
The player safety versus what the league is really about, though, Lee, because I think there are contradictions everywhere here. We're going to give you a guardian cap, but you know what? We want 18 weeks here. We're going to make the kickoff rule different, but you know what? Thursday night football is really important. I know it's really tough for your body to recover, but get out there, guys. I mean, to me, ultimately, is this just not PR what they're presenting out here when it comes to player safety? Because ultimately, whatever makes a dollar here is going to rule.
There are some breakthrough techniques finally to treat a concussed brain. One's called RTMS, which is magnets against the brain. Another is Nestry biofeedback that's been helpful. But this ought not be an issue that goes into political trading of player safety for anything else. It should be player safety first. Remember that part of the problem is that the athletes themselves tend to be in a state of denial about their physical health. I mean, they grow up from Pop Warner and Little League accepting that injury is part of football. We haven't even talked about the subconcussive hits, which is that every time a lineman hits a lineman at the line of scrimmage, it produces a low-level subconcussive event. So you could have an offensive lineman who played in high school, college, and the pros walk out of the game with 10,000 subconcussive events, none of which have been diagnosed because the player just feels stunned, none of which had been treated, but the aggregate almost certainly does what 3 knockout blows do.
So, Lee, it sounds like you're doing a lot to champion this cause, and I guess I'm curious as to what the next step is. What is next in making the game truly more safe for its players with these Guardian caps?
I think part of it is figuring out a way to not have collisions in training camp and practice. So you're saving it for the games. Now, that may sound revolutionary, but I guarantee you, all you're watching is the game on the field. You're not watching what they do in practice or in training camp necessarily. And so that would be a key. There are new treatments like hyperbaric oxygen and stem cells and Bimini and Nanovi that all work against internal inflammation. That can be helpful. And then, yes, helmetry. It's 10% or 33% doesn't solve the problem, but it can be helpful. So I think that every innovative technology ought to be looked at heavily by the powers that be, players associations and leagues. And the reason I got so concerned is I still know Troy Aikman. We're still friends. I'm concerned with what the 50-year-old ex-client, what their brain capacity is and their ability to lead a normal life. The NFL has tried things with the concussion protocol, which is least a help. I mean, you have people up in the press box that are looking for impaired players down on the field, and they have people on the sidelines, and they're much more diligent in terms of pulling players from the game. But it's not dominoes or checkers, and at the end of it, it's collision sport.
Lee Steinberg, we could talk to you a long time here, but, last one. How often are you on the East Coast? Because we would love to have you do a little stopover in Rochester. You're one of us here, Lee.
Absolutely. I can show my ancestry. I'm gonna be east. I've got a new book coming out around the Super Bowl that's called The Comeback: Resilience, Empathy, and What Matters. So I'll probably be touring in February and anything, and we'll see about a stop in Rochester.
All right, Lee. Nice. Well, we know we'll at least be talking to you about the new book when we get closer to the release, and really appreciate you giving us some of your time again this afternoon to have an NFL chat with us. This is great.
My pleasure.
You got
Thanks,
it. There
Lee.
he is. Super agent and one of us, Lee Steinberg.
Wow. Those are the type of books I love, right? Like, if he's going to tell stories, what it was like, how these deals went down.
Well, I just love his final point there. Like, why are you a champion for this? Because I'm still friends with these guys. I'm still friends with the players that I represented. I'm still friends with Troy Aikman, and I'm nervous that as he gets older, he's not going to have all of his faculties because of how the game was played then. Why can't we change it and how it's played now? And I already know he's right. Like, the players, that you need somebody to protect the players from themselves, or they're going to see it and they're going to be like, nah, that looks dumb. That looks corny. I don't look good in that. And maybe if it starts at the youth level where it should start.
Well, this would be my challenge to the NFL, because what is the NFL's big initiative? And I'm totally fine with this initiative, by the way.
Flag football.
Right. Flag football. Let's get girls involved. This is outstanding. And there's no big-time contact with it. It's flag football. Why can't the NFL have that sort of initiative when it comes to high school football? If the NFL said, hey, to every league in America, we're going to pay for these. We would like you to wear them. Not everyone would do it, but I know a lot would.
See, the thing that you said was the NFL would say, we're going to pay for this. The NFL ain't going to pay for anything.
No. They pay for flag football.
Yes.
That's because that's helping the sport grow.
Yes.
The football overall grow. But if they're really concerned about player safety,
they're not.
No, they're not. That's why, like, I wanted to point, and Lee, look, he pivoted off of it, but this is the league of contradictions. Player safety, it's important. 18 weeks.
Yeah.
Player safety, it's important. Oh, yeah, the kickoff rule, yeah, we're going to see that with Thursday Night Football coming up, Bills and Dolphins.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. But you can't dispute the importance of player safety when you're talking about a player who's 12, 13, 14 years old, and mom and dad are on the sideline hoping that the worst thing doesn't happen. I'd say start it young, man. I don't know how they do it, but that's if you want to normalize this, if you want to make it, or let's get the helmet technology to a place where we can really feel comfortable that this is reducing the risk of any sort of long-term brain injury.
If I may, Danger.
Yes.
Sometimes Wednesdays in the league give us little nuggets because this is the day that players talk about, and you're looking ahead and you're looking back. And one of the storylines out of Arizona after that tough loss, wait a second, Marvin Harrison Jr.? Imagine taking Marvin Harrison Jr. in the second round of your fantasy draft, and wait, he was only targeted 3 times?
Not only that, I saw a stat. I can't remember who put it. It was in my feed. It listed the top speed of a bunch of wide receivers from Sunday, and there was a massive difference between even a guy like Keenan Allen. His top speed was over 18 miles an hour. Do you know what Marvin Harrison Jr. topped out at?
I'm guessing not 18.
16.3. He was slow.
Yeah, and it could have been the routes that they designed for him. It could have been any number of factors. But that's a storyline in Arizona. Like, wait a second, you got to get him the ball. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah, Kyler Murray can't see over that line, so.
Well, you're Kyler Murray. You're going to be asked about this, right?
Oh, I want this. Oh, this is going to be good. This could only turn out well. What does Kyler Murray have to say about this?
Sometimes the ball goes to him, but that's not my job. I leave that up to Drew. Drew being Drew Petzing, the offensive coordinator.
Oh, this guy.
That's not my job. I'm not taking that out of context.
That's Drew's job.
That's not my job. Can you imagine Josh Allen? Hey, you only targeted Steph Diggs last week. That's not my job.
I'm telling you what, man.
Wow.
That's a quarterback, obviously, that does not get along.
That is like Kyler
it's so
Murray.
on brand.
Like, wow.
It's so on brand. You can't coach me. It's not my job. You just know he doesn't agree with what's being coached. Like, just let me do my thing. He's basically, he's like Justin Fields. Like, just let me do my thing. Last year, Justin Fields in Chicago basically threw Luke Getzey under the bus.
All you have to do is say,
I'm being coached too much.
We like Marvin Harrison, and we look forward to him working, or whatever it is. And you get off the point.
Mm-hmm.
That's not my job. That's immature. The question isn't about you. It's about Marvin Harrison. And yes, you're the guy delivering the ball. It's not my job.
He's right. It's not his job. His job is to serve you half-price appetizers during happy hour at TGI Fridays. He's really Kyle Murray. He's not Kyler Murray. He's Kyle Murray, and he's here with your half-price apps.
Yeah, if there's one constant in this world, it's baseball.
Oh, yeah. You can't have Kyler Murray delivering the James Earl Jones.
It's not my job to do that.
Not my job.
Not my job.
No. I don't like to talk about myself, but allow me to just give you every accolade that I've received from high school on.
We all work with that person, too. That's not my job. What are you doing? That's not my job.
Yeah, that's, I guess, good luck with that, Arizona. That's the guy you hitched your wagon to. Not that you had a choice, but, I mean, it's one thing after the other. It's one thing after the other with this guy.
Yeah.
You got the contract, right, where we don't want you playing Call of Duty. You got him, responding to that with, here's my accolades and here's everything that I've done. Like, doesn't seem like a team guy, doesn't seem very coachable, physically small, athletic as hell. Not the dude.
But is he mobile or is he just going to scamper? I mean, there's a difference.
I think he's athletic. I think that's it. I think he's athletic. He can make plays. He can make plays. He can't see over the line, but he can make plays. And I have a handful, just a small handful of friends down in Arizona, and to a person, they're not in on Murray. None of them are fans. Like, we don't like that guy. And it's comments like that. It's like, all right, well, you're just not a likable dude. You're not a good teammate. Not a good teammate. You're throwing your coach under the bus. That's not my job. Get out of here. That gives off a lot of Justin Fields vibes from last year. I remember thinking to myself, Justin Fields and Luke Getsy. I mean, Luke Getsy might not be a good offensive coordinator. That's fine. But to hear a player say, I'm being coached too much, that's you telling me I'm uncoachable.
Well, I just want to see if you target Marvin Harrison 3 times again. When does Marvin Harrison, even though he's a rookie here, danger?
Yeah. It should get interesting. We got week 2 to look forward to, and it gets underway tomorrow night at 8 o'clock. In Miami, here on the Fan Rochester, you'll hear Bills, Dolphins with our pregame coverage getting underway at 4 o'clock. So an abbreviated version of the Sports Bar tomorrow afternoon. Before we give you that, Gino's got his prediction. He shared it earlier today. We'll get to that. We'll give you the news of the day as the Bills travel south. And we'll take your calls as well if you want to join us. The number is 866-4326, 585-866-4FAN.
WPTF Rochester, the sports leader. 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester. An Odyssey sports station. The Fan, Rochester. Sports update.
Greg Rousseau named the AFC Defensive Player of the Week. This in the win over Arizona. But now, the focus against the Dolphins coming up tomorrow night. Terrell Bernard on Tua Tagovailoa.
Yeah, I think his accuracy, his decision-making, and then, you could just tell he's comfortable in the offense. He throws the ball on time. He knows where his guys are going to be. He has spots that he likes to get to, and you can feel his sense of awareness and how comfortable he is when he's back there.
Dolphins running back Devin Achane is questionable. Achane did practice today on a limited basis. Raheem Mostert has been ruled out. Bills and Dolphins, our pregame coverage on the Fan begins at 4 o'clock tomorrow. Bowden Francis of the Toronto Blue Jays. He's 3 outs away from a no-hitter. The Jays leading the Mets 1-0. They go to the bottom of the 8th. Cleveland leading the White Sox 6-4 in the 9th. Gene Battaglia, the Fan, Rochester.
The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia.
Of course, today is 9/11, and a day that we will never, ever forget in this country.
This is something that is part of our heritage and the fabric of our everyday lives.
The Bills travel to take on the Dolphins.
I cannot believe week 2 is already here.
The Dolphins have ruled out running back Raheem Mostert for tomorrow night's game with the Bills because of a chest injury. Teammate Devon Achane is a game-time decision with an ankle.
Devon Achane was at practice today.
Mike Danger.
Kind of feel like the Bills could get this win. Kind of feel like the Bills get this dub. There's something about the Bills against Miami. McDermott and his defense have always seemed to stifle Tua, and Josh Allen has always performed well against the Dolphins.
Gene Battaglia.
Like, if it ends up being Jeff Wilson and some nobody running the ball for the Dolphins, are the Dolphins tough enough to wade through lightning delays, potentially?
95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
It's not lost on us what the significance of today is, and we're watching this no-hitter in Toronto.
Yeah.
The Mets are wearing their FDNY caps, their NYPD caps. 23 years ago, we all remember where we were. We all remember what happened. I like to reflect on 9/11 and not think about all the horrible things that happened, and I'm certain that there's plenty of people that were affected and their lives were changed forever. I think all of our lives were changed forever, but I like to think about the days afterwards when there was a lot of confusion and there was a lot of fear. There was also a lot of unity.
Yeah.
There was a lot of optimism. There was a lot of we can get through this together. And a big part of that unity that came out through the days after 9/11, it was through sport. I mean, you remember the NFL canceling a week or pushing everything back, right? They but when they got back to football, and it was the Giants, I remember it was the Giants that were like, this is in our backyard, and it brought us back. The World Series that year had special meaning.
Oh, gosh. The first game back in New York, Mets and Braves, and you have Piazza with the home run in the 8th to win it, and just the emotion in that stadium. Fast forward to the Yankees in the World Series with the president being on the mound, throwing out the first pitch, what that was like. That was the year the Yankees ended up losing in Arizona in the end, but just that ride and what the Yankees did for that town too.
I would hate for something as horrific as that to happen again, to unify us. Where we are right now doesn't feel like, as a nation that we are very united. I mean, we are the United States of America, but we are very fractured and very divided, and all you have to do is have a conversation with somebody or scroll through your feed and somebody that we're all going to have different beliefs and different opinions, and there used to be a time where you could have those different beliefs and different opinions and still be united as one. And I think that still exists in small pockets of our society today. I'm not hoping for another tragic incident to bring us together. I'm just hoping that at some point here, and days like today remind us that we can come together.
Sports. That is like when you went to an Amherst playoff game years ago, you didn't. You're there to you're dialed in on the Amerks, whatever it is.
We came out of the pandemic.
Yeah,
did the Amerks feel like that escape? Yeah,
that was it. And watching the Mets here with their FDNY, and all right, they're going to go to the 9th. We're going to keep you updated on this, but this is the strangest pitching line ever for Bowden Francis. Okay, 8 innings, 1 walk, no hits, 1 strikeout.
Oh, wow.
1 strikeout. Like, if he ends up going out, and that's the other thing, too. Oh, they are sending him out.
Yeah.
Okay, so the pitch count at 108, and I would say good on the Jays for doing this.
Yeah, what else? I mean, like, this
no, we got to protect the arm, Danger. 108 pitches.
I mean, come on. You're not going anywhere. Let's have something to add to the highlight reel for the season that is probably a disappointment by their standards.
Big time disappointment. The Jays are for 8 games under 500. They're supposed to be a team that's in the postseason with that lineup.
That's right. Take the win where you can get it. And this is this is one where it's like, all right, let's.
Wow, and our sales manager Tim Thompson. You know who his favorite team is? It's actually the Jays. He loves talking. The Remember When game. Loves talking about Joe Carter and blah 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 blah. He's up in Toronto for some concert.
The Killers are in Toronto.
Yeah, I'm like, hey, are you gonna go see the Mets and Jays? No, I'm not gonna go see them.
I'm telling you, man. I see this game being played at Rogers. And all I think to myself is, I need more Toronto in my life. It looks beautiful there. It's probably a beautiful afternoon. The roof is open, and you got a guy hurling a no-hitter.
Yeah, and of course now, for a long-time Jays fans, they've queued the Dave Stieb footage out. Dave Stieb, I actually went to one of his one-hitters. This was years ago against Milwaukee. He lost it in the 9th. Dave Stieb, if you didn't know his story, he threw a bunch of no-hitters. Finally got on the board with 1 no-hitter in Cleveland. Jays have never had a no-hitter other than that one. So they never had a player in Toronto throw a no-hitter at home. They're 3 outs away. This is the tough part. Now they got to face the top of the order.
I love that in between innings they showed a shot of him as well. And he's sitting by himself, man. Nobody is near him. No. Nobody is touching that guy. Nobody is talking to that guy. You are on your own, pal. Go out there and get it done. And okay, there you go. The last no-hitter by the Mets was, I think, Max Scherzer, right?
Max Scherzer did it against the Mets when he was with Washington. The Mets only have the 1. Yeah, their credit, Johan.
So, yeah, you got the top of the order with Lindor up here in the top of the 9th, and Francis going for the no-no north of the border. We'll keep you updated on that. We've got a football game to look forward to tomorrow, Gino. The Bills are in South Florida to take on the Dolphins to kick off Week 2. Thursday night football. The peasantry and the regulars reaching out on X at the Fan Rochester, and we invite you to join us at 866-4FAN. We're abbreviated tomorrow, so get your predictions in for tomorrow night now, like Chris in South Central Kentucky just did. Miami's offensive line is still not good. They let their best defenders walk in the offseason and replace them with guys just getting on the AARP mailing list. Their best back isn't playing. Their second best back is likely limited at best. I could see our defensive line disrupting McVape's timing. And that's in response to Pete, who has the Bills beating the Dolphins 24-14.
Look up at your monitor.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Not only did the no-hitter go away, Lindor just went yard, 1-1. And then poor Bowden, you lose your no-hitter, you lose the lead, and now your day is done. Your day is done.
Yeah, Lindor's NL MVP, in my opinion.
For somebody who was like the jaded baseball fan, or jaded no-hitters, they don't mean that much. There's so many of them. Okay, they do happen a few times a year, but whenever you are in the 9th, you're not moving away from this.
Special. Yeah, it's special. It does happen with frequency, and it shouldn't be like whether we're going to celebrate it. It's like, okay, yeah, they happen with enough frequency now where I don't know that it needs to be celebrated as much.
Who hit the home run?
Oh, it was Lindor. I told you he should be the NL MVP.
Right.
Yeah. No, Lindor is fantastic.
Yeah, and people are like, Ohtani. Okay. Yes, Ohtani's going to be 50-50. He is special. They're still winning the NL West, the Dodgers, without Ohtani.
That's right.
The Mets are not anywhere in the conversation without Lindor.
That's exactly right. I shared that last week.
And I'm proud of you.
No, I just think it makes no sense. Ohtani is going to be, when it's all said and done, likely the best player we've ever seen because of what he can do, not just at the plate, but on the mound. And he's not on the mound this year. He's on the field, 12% of the time? And I just can't see giving it to a DH. I just can't. I know it's spectacular. What he's doing is something we should not take for granted. I'm not taking it for granted. I think what Lindor has done this season with the Mets is more valuable by definition of the award. More valuable than what Ohtani has done with the Dodgers. Okay, so there you go. Gino, as I was mentioning.
Listen, I'm also saying it's a 10-point win for the Dolphins. Yes, boo, boo, boo. My job is not to wave pom-poms. My job is to tell you what I see here. And, Chris, to your point that the Dolphin offensive line is, that's not the game plan. Basically, it's Tua, 1, 2, 3, boom, 1, 2, 3, boom. I don't think he's going to need all this time. I'm concerned that if you have Cam Lewis matched up against one of those wide receivers or Cam Lewis against Achane in the backfield, remember, this is a Dolphin team that kept only 4 wide receivers. Why? You're going to see a lot of Achane, even though Mostert isn't available. Achane will be lined up in the slot. I just fear that there are going to be mismatches in the Bills' secondary. So, to me, if the guys are open a few yards down the field, what does it matter? Your pass rush isn't going to matter in this game.
I'll share my prediction tomorrow morning in the break room for Tommy Tells It Like It Is, but I've just been back and forth on this game so much. There's so much evidence supporting that the Bills should be able to go in there and beat Miami.
And the evidence being Josh Allen.
Well, that's one piece of it, right? Sean McDermott always seems to have his defense dialed up a certain way to slow down Miami. We see it time and time again. They've owned Miami.
Josh Allen has owned Miami. Josh Allen, this brings out the best of him, whatever it is. 41 total touchdowns, 13 turnovers. In all 13 games, he's thrown for at least 2 touchdowns. That's remarkable.
Yeah.
And name the games that the Bills have lost against the Dolphins. And I'm arguing against my own point. Both of them were down there. One of them, Charles Clay in the end zone. Yeah. Oh, my gosh.
Just short.
Yeah, just short. Remarkable comeback that falls up short for Josh Allen. And then the Heat game from 2 years ago.
And the Dolphins, this is the unknown for me with the Dolphins, because you could certainly say in the Mike McDaniel era, the Dolphins have been a good enough team to beat up on bad teams, do what they're supposed to do, but they haven't yet risen up to the level to beat teams with winning records with any sort of consistency. And so now last week they get the win against Jacksonville, and I think that's a quality win. That's a good win for Miami, and I think Jacksonville isn't a slouch. I think Jacksonville can win the AFC South, can be a playoff team. I don't know if they've turned that corner. I don't know that they're consistent enough to say, oh, they've turned that corner, and a team like the Bills, they should be able to fight a team like the Bills and maybe make a play or two that gets them on top when it's all said and done. It's a tough one, man. It's a tough one. Then you factor in the elements, the heat. It's going to be hot tomorrow night. There might be some storms in the area.
Yeah, you're like, oh, it's a night game. They're still saying 82 degrees at kickoff.
82 at night is muggy.
This is still summertime in South Florida. And, yeah, even if there is a late afternoon thunderstorm, it's not going to cool things off. We're used to that up here, not so much down there. So, yeah, hydrate and then hydrate a little bit more. That's our advice to every high school player, by the way, too. Just keep forcing fluids, please.
And if you had any other concerns about the Bills, the biggest one for me is the secondary. It's no Taron Johnson, and it's Miami's speed versus the secondary. Can Taylor Rapp and DeMar Hamlin keep everything in front of them? Can Cam Lewis in that nickel position in replacing Taron Johnson, can he hang with some of the speed that Miami brings to the table? I have questions about that. I have serious questions and concerns about that. So we'll see.
We should point out Achane officially questionable. Now, the Dolphins, like many teams, let the reporters in for a little bit. They didn't get to watch the whole thing. So the portion that reporters saw today, he looked okay, but that doesn't give you the full picture. So just a tiny bit of injury fog. Most are being out. Okay, that does not help the Dolphins.
PJ Glasser from BetQL Send It In joined us in the 3 o'clock hour. He gave us some picks that, Gene, you're scratching your head over a little bit here. You're like, I don't know, PJ.
Well,
surprising.
Yeah, the one being, hey, look at the trends with the Bengals when they play the Chiefs. And look, the Bengals always play the Chiefs tough over the years. There's also this trend that the Bengals have, in the Burrow-Taylor era, have won just one game in week 1 and week 2. And it's PJ's thing is there's an overreaction to the Bengals losing week 1 a little bit, with the Bengals getting 5 points in Kansas City. I would just point this out. Ask any Chiefs fan. If we put up Jay Binkley on the phone right now, Jay, who's the biggest rival for Kansas City right now? Is he saying the Raiders? Well, they don't like the Raiders, but no. Denver? No. Chargers, please. It's Cincinnati. And part of it is because, well, Cincinnati, their players tend to run their mouths a little bit. So to me, this is payback time. And I'm not a Chiefs supporter, but I'm going to tell you what's going to happen in that late afternoon game on Sunday. With the Bills playing Thursday, you get to watch whatever you want to on Sunday. That's the one they're going to service us, Bengals and Chiefs. My expectations for that being a really classic game, Danger, are really, really low. I think the Chiefs, with the extended time to prepare for Cincinnati, I think they roll them.
I think about vibes, and we didn't get into it very much with PJ, but we did talk about it a little bit last hour with Agent Lee Steinberg. Vibes around a team. I wonder how much that matters in their performance when you have a breakdown in communication and the player and the team aren't able to come to an agreement on a new contract or an extension, or you just view it and say, yeah, this ain't right. Like with the Jets and Hassan Reddick, with Jamar Chase, who's there and playing, but playing on a deal that is so heavily favored towards the team in terms of its value, just over $1 million for Jamar Chase's services this year in Cincinnati. What does that do for a locker room? What does it do for the chemistry? What does it do for the camaraderie of a team? Because I tell you what, Dallas looked like a team that was having fun as they were beating up on Cleveland on Sunday, and part of that is they've lifted a lot of weights off their chest, whether it's CeeDee Lamb or Dak Prescott. You certainly still have Micah Parsons to deal with, but they look like they were at least unified. I can't say the same for the Jets. You had Sauce Gardner pouting on the sideline. You don't have Hassan Reddick. I can't say the same for the Bengals. I like looking at what teams feel like they have good vibes this time of year.
Well, I bring this back, in basically all the vibes thing you're saying, it's all kind of contract related, right? And for a team that doesn't, and maybe the Jets, being right at the top of the list, like the Reddick thing that's a massive communication breakdown, whether it's the agent, whether it's the team. This is dumb at this point. It really is.
I bring that one up because one of the things that PJ shared with us, he likes the Titans. Take the Titans and the points at home. Now, if the Jets lose to the Titans,
woo!
Right?
Yeah, and PJ brings up a point. I didn't get to see this. You go to a Bills game, right? You're all dialed in on the Bills and how the game has ended. Chances are you're not really looking at your phone. And that was me. And I'm like, and then I go down to the locker room, I do my thing, like, what? The Bears won that game? How? And I was happy for you, Danger. Well, you learned that, no offense, really wasn't your team doing anything. It was a gift.
It was a gift, hand-delivered by Will Levis. I mean, the defense doesn't have to apologize for their performance. They were great. Special teams, you got a block punt. Fantastic. It's not a sustainable way to win games in the NFL, and I think everybody recognizes and realizes that. And I think that's the kind of mistake that if you're Will Levis, you don't make it a second time, or you don't get the chance to make it a second time. You're not gifting another team a win by turning the ball over carelessly the way he did against the Bears. And so maybe against the Jets at home, you see a different version of this Titans team that might surprise the Jets coming in thinking to themselves, oh, well, we just played one of the best teams in the league. We should be able to handle Tennessee. That one actually, I'm kind of with PJ on that one. That one might surprise some people, and Tennessee might rise up and at least cover at home against the Jets in the early window on Sunday.
Yeah, PJ says bet the under. That's his best play for the Bills and Dolphins, by the way. If he had to, he would take the Dolphins, but he'd say, and I kind of get that, because if you're the Bills and you're Sean McDermott, and if you are concerned about what Miami does offensively, and maybe you are concerned about what you don't have there in the secondary this week, well, running the ball and limiting possessions, that's always a tried and true method, even though you do have Josh Allen at quarterback.
So we'll have the game for you tomorrow evening. Our pregame coverage gets underway tomorrow afternoon at 4 o'clock. We're abbreviated tomorrow here in the Sports Bar. We'll give you an hour of greatness. I believe Dan Fates is stopping by the Sports Bar.
Fatesy on Thursday, and it'll be a heavy lift for us. Up in Toronto, the Mets have gone ahead 2-1 as they loaded the bases. So, first of all, the no-hitter was lost on a home run by Lindor, and then the Mets load the bases, sac fly by Pete Alonso here. I'm a little distracted, Danger.
I can see that you're distracted. And this would be, they're 8-2 in their last 10, so this would keep them at like 8-2 in their last 10, right? They've got a good thing going here, your Mets.
Yeah, the Mets right now, this would put them a half game up on Atlanta. And, yeah, you have the Mets playing the Phillies this week. You're going to have the Mets finishing out against Atlanta. Even though it's September 11th today, still a lot of baseball to be played.
And get your wins against teams like the Blue Jays that are underachieving this year, where you can get them.
Yeah, are they the biggest underachievers in baseball this year? See, the way Seattle kind of flopped.
Yeah, that was discouraging.
Yeah, I don't blame what the Braves are like.
They're injured, man.
They're totally injured.
Nothing they can do. Nothing they can do. All right, so yes, tomorrow, Fates joins us at 3:25, and we'll lead you right up to pregame coverage at 4 o'clock here with kickoff just after 8 o'clock on the Fan Rochester. You're home for Buffalo Bills football, and as I mentioned, I will be on CMF tomorrow morning in the break room to share my prediction for the Bills and the Dolphins, and it might come right up to kickoff. I really, really don't know which direction to go.
Can you go on tomorrow and say, I don't know?
No, that's not acceptable.
That's not allowed?
No. I mean, would we allow that here? No. Hedgers or losers. You have to pick a side, coward. So I'll have a side picked by the time we get to tomorrow morning, and then we'll talk more about the Bills and the Dolphins tomorrow afternoon here in the sports bar. What else we got going on around the NFL? Gino, I was trying to scour the – I mean, you got injuries here and there. You've got different situations playing out. You've got concerns with certain teams and –
you have Deshaun Watson denying the latest allegations, and oh my gosh, there's a statement today from Rusty Hard. Welcome back to 4 years ago.
He's back, huh?
Yeah.
I would love that. That's a question. If we had more time with Lee Steinberg, I would have loved to have asked him. What do you do in that situation? How do you get out from that deal? Do you get out from that deal? What's his take as an agent, as a super agent? When you're talking about a player who's got that much guaranteed money attached to his name, performing at the level he's performing at, by the way, I dropped him fantasy football. Get him out of here. I don't hate him out of here. I don't hate my team anymore. Yeah. I hated my team week 1 because I had him in my roster. In my super flex, he's gone. He's gone. You're gonna like my team again, Deshaun Watson. Yeah, no kidding. He's gonna deny those allegations.
Yeah, what's funny is the wrong word, but how we're always on to the next thing. Did you know, like, of all those lawsuits, there were 24, 2 are still unresolved.
Really?
Yeah, those civil lawsuits.
Hasn't settled those yet.
No.
Settled the other ones.
Paid the fine, did his time with the NFL, but the story is not over yet.
But you just see that, and talk about bad vibes. I mean, that guy just looks physically and mentally detached from the game.
Yeah, and you have the story yesterday that it's continuing today. Like, wait a second. Did he really create a burner account to go and defend himself and question the play calling and question his offense? Like, oof.
Yeah, it's fantastic. We'll get to a round of shots next in the sports bar.
Hey, NBA expansion. Is this really going to be happening? Well, Adam Silver gave some comments there. We'll get you set as really the NBA, the season on the horizon. You want to talk about on the horizon? We have hockey in Buffalo today.
Huh?
Uh-huh. Yeah. We'll explain who was on the ice here as the Mets just go up 3-1. Again, distracted. Oh, and could you trust any athlete when they put ketchup on food items? We know Patrick Mahomes does this with steak. I'm going to give another athlete we all know that should not be doing this.
Where are you putting ketchup? Are you putting ketchup on your burger? I'm trying to think of ways I use ketchup as an adult.
Definitely with fries.
Ketchup and fries.
See, ketchup and fries. I really can't have. When I go to Bill Gray's, I want to.
You need the ketchup.
I like dipping it in.
You know what I like at Bill Gray's when you have the crinkle cut fries?
Yeah.
Get a side of the hot sauce. I dip them in the hot sauce.
That'll work too.
That's good. Ooh, that's good. Yeah, ketchup on steak is obviously a no-no. Won't put ketchup on my dog.
No, this is worse.
This is worse. We'll get to that and more next. A round of shots. And last call before we close up shop at 6. If you want to be a part of the show and have the last word, 866-4FAN is the phone number. 585-866-4326.
You're listening to Sports Update.
One bit of business from the win over Arizona. Greg Rousseau gets an honor today, the AFC Defensive Player of the Week. And now it's on to Miami. Pass rusher Von Miller on the opponent.
He's just a solid, very solid tackle, one of the best tackles in the league. You know, he can move left to right. He's strong. He's smart. He can bend with you. He's one of the best tackles in the league. He's been one of the best tackles in the league for a very long time.
Dolphins running back Devon Achane, questionable. He did practice today on a limited basis, not playing for Miami tomorrow night. Raheem Mostert has been ruled out. Bills and Dolphins, our pregame coverage begins at 4 o'clock tomorrow here on the Fan Rochester. The Red Wings lose their 5th straight, 6-4 the final today in Indianapolis. Bowden Francis of the Toronto Blue Jays. He was 3 outs away from a no-hitter. That's when Francisco Lindor homered. The Mets now leading 6-1 in the 9th. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader. The Fan Rochester.
Odyssey is your home for all the audio that matters to you. Download the Odyssey app today to listen to the sports leader, The Fan, Rochester.
Am I insufferable here?
It's really, really hard to deal with. It's 1 minute, it's, oh my God, we've got a no-hitter. Let's monitor this no-hitter. What a story this would be if this guy got this no-hitter. And the next minute, it's like, 6-1 Mets. And he's over here like a bridge troll, pacing up and down and jumping up and down for the Mets getting a 6-1 lead. I mean,
I've never heard anybody do an impression of me like,
yes, you're like... You're like Smithers. Not Smithers, Burns. Yes, excellent. I thought you were excited about a no-hitter as a fan of baseball.
No, not again. I mean,
you were down because it was happening against your team, and now they go 6-1, and you're just like, oh, I can't focus. Like, okay, you got the win. Congratulations, you get the W. Now, can you and every Mets fan start acting like you've been there before? My God.
Like, define been there. Where is there?
There is a spot where you're going to be disappointed in a couple of weeks.
Stop. Stop there, Catalana. Boy, Danger, I don't know if you would be proud of me or embarrassed, but I'm sitting at a table, and Mike Catalana's coming this direction. I have my laptop, and I punch up the score of the Philly game on Sunday. Now, nobody would know this because you're not paying attention to baseball on Sunday, including Catalana. I'm like, Mike, check out the score. Miami's leading 10-0. Like, really? Just wait in a couple weeks.
That's it. Wait a couple weeks. Don't get too excited. Don't get over your skis. You're beating a team you should be beating in the Toronto. You were no hit by a team you shouldn't be no hit by in the Toronto Blue Jays.
It doesn't matter. Like, no hit through 8. Like, you play 9 innings.
Look, a win. Look, I get it. A win is a win, and this will put you a half game up on the Braves. But let's start acting like we've been there before.
Philly slugger, speaking of the Phillies, Kyle Schwarber set a major league record last night. Most home runs in a season leading off a game. He's 14th last night. Now, we looked it up. Like, wait a second. Ricky Henderson has to have that. He did it 81 times in his career. That's the all-time mark for a career, but the most Henderson ever did in his season was 9 times.
9 times.
News wasn't all good for Schwarber in the win over Tampa Bay. He did injure his elbow diving back to first base. He is day-to-day. Zach Wheeler taking the mound tonight for Philadelphia. The Phillies are actually a game up on the Dodgers for the best record in the National League.
I mean, you don't want me to talk about Kyle Schwarber. This guy's just a winner. All he does is just win. He's just a winner. Love Kyle Schwarber.
Yeah, then why did the Cubs let him go like that?
Yeah, I don't know. I can't explain why a dysfunctional organization lets good players go. That's their MO. But Kyle Schwarber on Dinger Tuesdays on FanDuel throughout the course of the baseball season was very profitable. I appreciate his work this season. 14 leadoff home runs. The guy's just a machine. Hope he gets better.
The greatness continues in Chicago. We are now up to 114. Cleveland did not let us down today. The Guardians allowed 4 runs to the White Sox in the bottom of the third. Like, oh, no, this can't be happening. Those are only 4 runs the White Sox got today. 6-4 ended up being the final. I'm looking for the announced attendance. In the box score I'm reading, they didn't announce the attendance.
That bad, huh?
Just make up your own attendance. The Guardians were minus 225 on the money line. So that's only 6 losses away from the record.
Okay, we want greatness, boys. Let's go.
Yeah, by wins I mean actually losses.
Yeah, we want to lose more games.
Yeah. NBA Commissioner Adam Silver says, yes, league will be addressing expansion at some point this season. But then he hedged. They're not quite ready yet, he says. It was widely believed that the league, when they do decide to get to 32 teams, those two markets, there are clear front runners here, Seattle and Las Vegas.
I still struggle with I'm sorry. I do not struggle with Vegas getting an NBA team. A Vegas NBA team will be trouble.
Well,
would just be trouble.
That's the one that LeBron says he wants to be owner. That's the story. When LeBron is done with his playing days, they will let him be part of the investment group in Vegas.
What do both of these markets have in common? They both have arenas ready to go, right?
Right.
Seattle's got the new arena that's beautiful. Vegas has the new arena that's beautiful.
And I don't know if there's any other market right now that says, hey, we're ready to kind of go here. It's weird. Like, you would think there would be more, like, ready to go for an NBA
Both
team.
of those markets make a lot of sense. And if they expand in the NBA, I actually am here for it. I'd like to see that happen. I think if Seattle gets the Sonics back,
that's what we want.
That's fantastic. And if Vegas, whatever Vegas trots out there, I don't want to root for Vegas teams, but it's hard not to just view Vegas as like, because everybody in Vegas is so transient and it's a tourist destination.
Yeah, to me, like, the first one in wins, and the first one in was actually the National Hockey League.
Yeah.
So, like, in Vegas, it feels like their team is actually the Golden Knights, and the Raiders. Oh, we like the Raiders, and the Raiders are transient to begin with. By definition, they're the Raiders. They don't want the A's. Like, no, like, whatever, get out of here with that. So that, and then who knows for the NBA?
Yeah, and I struggle with what Major League Baseball in Las Vegas looks like in the summertime without a dedicated ballpark that has, the amenities that you would need in the middle of the summer.
Right, so they're not going to play temporarily there. They're going to play in Sacramento after this season, which we've got that coming up, the final game in Oakland. Won't that be a scene here in 2 weeks? Thursday night, the Bills play. We know this. Friday will mark the first time we have the Sabres in a game on the ice. It's the Prospect Challenge returning to Buffalo. There's a bunch of teams, including Dan Drummond's Ottawa Senators. The Sabres will need to field the roster there, and it's basically a lot of young guys. It includes first-round pick Constance Helenius. Also, other first-rounders, Noah Ostlund, Isak Rosane, defenseman Ryan Johnson. You know these names if you're an Amherst fan. And, yeah, there'll also be Yuri Kulik on the ice there. The first practice for the rookies was actually today.
Well, yeah, it's coming.
Not ready for this.
Not ready for the NHL. Not ready for Sabres hockey. Not going to lie.
No.
I mean, the weather will change. It'll start to get a little bit cooler, and I could see myself maybe showing interest in wanting to see how are they getting, what kind of a start are they getting off to? How does Lindy have this team looking? But man, it's football season.
Yeah, it's football season. It's also the busiest time of year. So, like, if I had to say, what is the one thing on the sports calendar that catches up to you? Like, hey, wait, preseason hockey? Even like when the regular season starts. When the Sabres are starting, wait for that. Like on a Friday afternoon, we're going to be preempted one day because the Sabres are playing in Prague. That's going to be different.
Crazy.
Finally, it's known that Chiefs quarterback Patrick Mahomes puts ketchup on his steak.
Just terrible.
Well, danger if you think that's disturbing. Hockey player John Carlson, he does not do that, but Carlson went on a podcast claiming that Alex Ovechkin puts ketchup on pasta.
Jeez.
Apparently, he's not the only one to do this. Alex Wenberg of the Sharks admitted to doing the same thing. I suppose marinara sauce and ketchup are both tomato-based, but
Yeah,
really, what are we doing?
One has flavor and one tastes like vinegar. No, not the same thing. I remember being in grade school. This lunch actually traumatized me. I'd never seen this before, where they served up spaghetti, but they put chili on top of it with the beans. The Skyline, like the
You never had that?
Cincinnati style.
Yeah.
And this is partially where my hatred of beans comes from, because the first time I saw this, I didn't realize it was chili. I thought it was just regular sauce. I thought it was really spaghetti sauce, and I tried it. I'm like, this is disgusting. This is the worst thing I've ever eaten. I still, to this day, won't eat a bean. I will not touch a bean. I hate beans. Just one food that I just won't enjoy.
That's the worst, when you think you're biting into something and you realize, oh gosh, this is like
this is not what I thought it was.
Like, the worst for me was, cream puff. I would love that. Oh, tuna. Oh, my gosh. When you get something like that.
A tuna cream puff?
Yeah, or tuna. It was like a hand sandwich, and I thought it was a cream puff.
Oh, right. Yeah. I'm telling you, man, ketchup for me, I think it's burgers and fries, end of list. I can't. What else are you putting it on? I don't even want it on my tots. Like, we've had the discussion.
Right.
Tots are the superior starch, right? If you have the opportunity to order tots over fries, you're going tots all day. And I can't do even ketchup with the tots. There's other things that you can do with tots. Ketchup on pasta.
No.
That Ovechkin. He's quirky, isn't he?
When I was a kid, I loved A1 sauce. But then I
Same.
realized, no.
Right.
No. I love steak.
Right. I did it all. I did A1, I did 57 sauce, and then you grow out of your yummy phase and you realize, a good steak is good on its own. You don't even need any sauce. Season it well, and you're good to go. Yeah, ketchup on pastas, that's a no-go for me. That's a no for me, dog. Let's get to last call next, and we'll queue you up and tee you up for tomorrow afternoon. Our abbreviated heavy lift, the 1-hour show tomorrow afternoon as we get you ready for Bills and Dolphins from Miami tomorrow evening. 866-4326 if you want to share your prediction for the game. 585-866-4FAN. Last Friday, we had the live show to kick off the NFL season from Three Heads Brewing, and it goes without saying, like, those are our favorite shows. Love being out, love seeing our regulars, love talking sports with you and having a cold one at the same time. Nothing better than it, right?
We can share a cold one and maybe a win or two.
One of our regulars stops out, and John from Rochester, and I didn't share this with you, Gino. John pulls me aside, and I ask him how his summer's been going. He's like, let me tell you something. A little rough. We went to the golf tournament. Is it the Memorial?
Oh, no, you did tell me this story. Tell everybody else's story.
Is it the Memorial that's in Hartford?
No,
Which is the golf tournament that's in Hartford?
Travelers.
The Travelers. That's right, the Travelers. So John goes to the Travelers every year, and he says the Travelers, he got bumped into a curb. John breaks his ankle. Now, you or I break our ankle, we're probably going to get it checked out. We're probably going to the doctor. We're probably, give me something.
Laid up for a couple months.
Give me something, right? Not this Iron Man. This dude doesn't go to the doctor. He just lets his ankle heal on its own. And John, are you back? Are you back to 100% after this injury? It didn't even slow you down, you animal.
I'm back. Really, it took me about 7 weeks, but I'm going to be jumping rope soon. But I'm jogging, shadow boxing. I'll tell you, I'm in good shape.
Golfing
right
too? Golf? You getting up? You back out there to golf as well?
Yeah. I've been playing golf. I only missed 1 week of golf.
Look at this guy.
Yeah.
1 week of golf with a broken ankle. It's like regular Tony Finau over here.
Like Danger. I want to be John from Rochester someday.
Oh, he's a role model.
It wasn't it was a fracture. It wasn't a major compound break or anything like that. So, and I took advice from over 50 years ago when I played football and ran track. I fractured ankles in consecutive seasons, one right, one left in consecutive seasons. And the doctor says, if you want to come back quickly, don't put a cast on it. So I'm taking advice from 54 years ago.
Wow. This guy is a machine. John, what do you got for us today, buddy?
Well, I'm waiting a big win tomorrow night. I'll tell you, Josh is going to continue his mastery over the Dolphins big time. I'll never forget the first time I saw Josh at the stadium. We were playing Dolphins late in December in a snowstorm. Late in the game, we had a big lead. Josh scrambles. He has to scramble. He's running for the end zone, and 2 Dolphins. I was sitting right there. They looked at Josh and just backed off, let him go. He had us head of steam. The guy he's unbelievable.
Well, this is not sustainable, though, to let Josh go win the game. So, the history of Josh Allen against the Dolphins certainly bodes well for Buffalo tomorrow night, but at some point, you just wonder if this catches up to the team. John, always appreciate the call and glad the ankle is doing all right there.
I'm just blown away by that. Broke my ankle. John confessed to us. He's 70. He's in his 70s.
70s, yeah.
And he's like, it broke my ankle. Didn't go to the doctor for it. You machine. Just made of gristle. Unbelievable.
Sometimes the ball goes to Harrison, but that's not my job. That's the quote from Kyler Murray.
He's fantastic. What a little self-absorbed, tiny little man. That guy can't see over the line. Can't find his wide receiver. Not my job. It's not my job to do your job, is what he's saying.
3 targets. That's a legit question. If you have a true number one and I think, hey, you draft the guy 3rd overall, and you got to target him more than 3 times in a game where you only lost by 6 points, and oh, by the way, Harrison was wide open at the end of the game. You missed him.
I'd say just sit back and watch this develop. Watch this unfold because it's going to be ugly.
Well, if Harrison gets 3 targets again, is he going to be a demure rookie and just kind of do whatever the team? Or is
he's
he
kind of an unknown to me. Like, yeah. I really don't know what to expect with him. It's going to be a tricky one, man. A tricky one to watch. But that speaks to Murray. It just feels like that guy's uncoachable and just insecure, uncoachable.
If the question comes your way, and you have to know this, how do you get Marvin Harrison more involved? He had only 3 targets. Oh, not my job.
Right.
What?
Yeah.
What?
Great answer.
Wow.
Tomorrow on the show, the heavy lift, as we like to call it. 1 hour from 3 until 4. Gino and I will be here to set you up for pregame, which gets underway at 4 o'clock. Tomorrow, a Thursday that's going to feel like a Friday because the Bills are in prime time. The Amazon Prime kickoff, week 2, gets underway with the Dolphins hosting the Bills. I will be on CMF tomorrow morning in the break room for Tommy Tells It Like It Is. I'll give you my prediction for tomorrow night then, and we'll be back tomorrow with more of your calls at 866-4326, 585-866-4FAN. If you missed Lee Steinberg, if you missed PJ Glasser, you can get both of those conversations wherever you get your podcasts. Search out Danger and Battaglia, search out the Sports Bar, and you'll find all of our guest appearances listed for you there. You can also go back and listen in the free-to-download Odyssey app to any part of the show that you may have missed for the next 24 hours. And a special thanks to everybody who watched the Sports Bar today on our YouTube channel or our live stream on Twitch. Can't do it without you. Enjoy your night. It's a beautiful one. We will be back again tomorrow afternoon starting at 3 here on The Fan Rochester. JR Sport Brief next.